Chapter 895. After confirming his future cultivation direction, Wang Ting shifted his focus to battle techniques. He didn't receive any battle techniques this time. It couldn't be helped though. He had killed the martial warriors by destroying the spacecraft, so they didn't have the opportunity to execute any battle techniques. Naturally, the chances of gaining battle techniques were low. Of course, he had other gains. The 9th level Celestial Stage Martial Warrior gave him a Celestial Stage Battle Technique attribute bubble. The Star Cleaver Battleaxe. The Star Cleaver Battleaxe was the advanced version of the Planetary Stage Battle Technique, the Mountain Cleaver Battleaxe, which he had gained some time ago. Wang Ting realized that the naming conventions in the universe were identical. They followed the same sequence. Unfortunately, it was an axe battle technique. His aim was to be a sword and blade master in the universe. This Star Cleaver Battleaxe didn't fit his image at all. What made him frustrated was, the Star Cleaver Battleaxe skill dropped an Ultima too. This was an Earth Element Battleaxe Ultima. While Wang Ting was focused on the Star Cleaver Battleaxe and the Star Cleaver Ultima, he felt a loud explosion in his mind. A hidden legacy surged out. He saw an image of a towering figure holding a gigantic battleaxe and wielding it with frightening power. He seemed to be practicing a profound battleaxe skill. Suddenly, the figure raised the battleaxe high in the sky. A glaring yellow glow blossomed on the battleaxe. The next instant, it slammed down, and the terrifying glow slashed towards a planet in the space in front of him. A scary explosion was heard, and the planet shattered immediately under the powerful slash of the battleaxe. It turned into countless meteorites and floated into the depth of the universe. The towering figure disappeared from Wang Ting's consciousness, leaving only a back view in his memory. Wang Ting let out a huge sigh when the scene ended. I didn't think that the Mountain Cleaver Battleaxe would be so powerful after empowering it with the Ultima. His eyes shimmered as he muttered to himself. Wang Ting carefully sensed his gains. He realized that the 300 points of Ultima attributes allowed his grasp of Star Cleaver Ultima to go from the first level to the second level instantly. Based on his prediction of the power of the Ultima, he could definitely kill any planetary stage opponents easily with his current 6th level planetary stage Earth Force. It would even possess a threat to Celestial Stage Martial Warriors, killing Martial Warriors at a higher stage than him. Mind you, he was only using his martial arts cultivation to gauge. He didn't include his spiritual power. That meant that he had no problem killing an opponent at a higher level than him with his Star Cleaver Ultima. It was impressive to kill an opponent at a higher stage than him. Wang Ting wasn't boasting. He was stating the truth. Should I find an axe to play? He started wondering to himself. Besides the Star Cleaver Ultima, Water Element Ultima also improved. This Water Element Ultima changed into enlightenment and merged into his memory. Then, Wang Ting realized that his 1000 Crashing Ripples Ultima rose again. 1000 Crashing Ripples Ultima, 10,000, 3rd level. The 1000 Crashing Ripples Ultima increased from the 2nd level to the 3rd level. Wang Ting was elated. The first 3rd level Ultima finally appeared. Ultima was hard to get. Every rise in level meant an increase in the power of the skill. For instance, the 2nd level Star Cleaver Ultima could kill a 1st level Celestial Stage Martial Warrior, while the 3rd level 1000 Crashing Ripples Ultima could kill a 2nd level Celestial Stage Martial Warrior, maybe even a 3rd level Celestial Stage Martial Warrior. After counting his Ultima and battle techniques, Wang Ting continued looking at the attributes below. There was nothing much. He received some common universal language attributes, so his language skills rose tremendously. Common universal language, 503,000, big achievement. What was the use of the big achievement stage for this language? He wasn't planning to be a language master. Wang Ting shook his head. He shifted his focus from the attributes panel and opened the door of the cultivation room. He walked out. You're finally willing to come out. Round Ball appeared in front of him instantly. Its little round nose almost touched his nose. Sponsored content. Visit Riadel. Me for extra chapters. What are you doing? Wang Ting was stunned. Nothing. I just came to inform you that we're about to leave the Milky Way. Round Ball coughed and replied. Leave the Milky Way? Wang Ting was surprised. He went to the command room with Roundball, who activated the panorama mode. A distorted segment appeared in front of them. It was like a deep whirlpool. Many attribute bubbles were floating around the whirlpool. Wang Ting was overjoyed. He released his spiritual power and swept all the attribute bubbles over. Indeed, there are space and time attribute. Wang Ting chuckled as he scanned the attributes panel. Space Physique, 265501000000, first rank. There was nothing to say about the Space Physique. It had reached the first rank. Wang Ting didn't know what the rank meant, but it seemed quite amazing. Besides needing a little more attributes, everything was fine. Time, on the other hand, was still a talent. It worked the same way as Space Talent before it evolved into Space Physique. After Wang Ting's hard work, his time attribute had reached 85 points. It was a large amount. He gained his time talent not long ago. The first step was always the most difficult. Also, time attributes were exceedingly rare, so the progress was slow. The QYE-63 spacecraft entered the whirlpool. After some time, they finally returned to the universe through the wormhole. The surroundings were unfamiliar. Everything, including the planets and the stars in the distance, looked unfamiliar. They were in another planetary sector. They had left their hometown and come to a new world. There seemed to be no end to the universe. It was vast and boundless. At the same time, it was cold and lonely. Roundball, disable the panorama mode and continue traveling at the speed of light, Wang Ting said emotionally. Roundball was surprised. He thought that Wang Ting would be attracted and astounded by the endless planetary sector since it was his first time leaving the Milky Way. But he regained his composure after a few seconds and left without any hesitation. I'm going to cultivate. Wang Ting turned around and walked to the cultivation room. Roundball glanced at his back. The universe is vast, but it's cold and lonely. Compared to it, our life is small and insignificant. I must become stronger, strong enough until I can surpass everything and everyone, Wang Ting mumbled to himself with a firm gaze. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 896. The anger of the void mayflies. The increase in ability caused Wang Ting to become complacent. Look, I have killed a 9th level celestial stage martial warrior. Aren't I amazing? This was the funny thought he had. But when he saw the boundless universe and how cold and lonely it was, his heart sank to the bottom. He was so small and insignificant. What right did he have to feel proud? He should go back and cultivate obediently. Wang Ting shut the door tightly after returning to the cultivation room, activating the Do Not Disturb mode. Roundball was speechless. It was curious how Wang Ting cultivated because it felt that he was too gifted. He wasn't a normal person. However, it knew that it shouldn't interrupt anyone's cultivation. This was a taboo. Even for an intelligent life form like it. When Nangong Yu was cultivating, it never appeared in his cultivation room without his consent. Wang Ting sat cross-legged in the cultivation room. He thought for a moment and activated his 18 tasks multitasking skill. He started cultivating all his elements at the same time. Please keep reading on myboxen 0VEL. C0M. This skill was called 18 tasks multitasking. So cultivating 11 forces at once was not a problem. Of course, Wang Ting placed more emphasis on his lightning force. His lightning force was on the verge of converting to constellation force and advancing to the planetary stage. It was normal that he would view it with high importance. At this moment, 11 forces flowed simultaneously in Wang Ting's body like multiple streams. Some flowed calmly while others rumbled and surged forward like a waterfall. There was a limited number of meridians and acupuncture points in one's body, so most skills would have some overlap when it came to using the same meridians and acupuncture points. There wouldn't be any overlaps if a person only used one force. However, when 11 forces flowed at the same time, overlaps were highly likely. A normal martial warrior wouldn't be able to avoid them, and it might result in going out of control. Talents who possessed 2 to 3 forces were considered extremely gifted. But they wouldn't dare to activate 3 forces at once. This was tempting fate. However, Wang Ting didn't follow the norm. With the help of the 18 tasks multitasking skill, every force managed to evade the overlapping point and flowed through his body in an orderly manner. If Round Ball knew how Wang Ting cultivated, it wouldn't be able to close its jaws. No one dared to do this. In the blink of an eye, many days had passed. One day, thunder was heard in the cultivation room. A powerful purple lightning force twirled around the person who was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the cultivation room. There were sparks of lightning shimmering around him. It was a magnificent sight. The roaring thunder came from within his body. This situation lasted for 10 minutes before it died down gradually. At the same time, a purple star was rising slowly above the sea of nihility in Wang Ting's body. It gathered together with the other constellations above the sea. They started twirling around one another like a group of children chasing and playing with each other. Please keep reading on myboxen 0VEL. C0M Lightning Force, Planetary Stage First Level. Wang Ting was elated. It wasn't easy. He worked extremely hard just to advance one mutated element to the planetary stage. This was a landmark in history. Wang Ting focused on the sea of nihility in his body. It was a lively and spectacular sight. There were 5 basic elements: the dark constellation and the lightning constellation. There was an entire group of them. His current achievements were unparalleled, not even talking about what he would achieve in the future. If he threw all his force constellations at his opponent, he would be able to smash a celestial stage martial warrior to death. Wang Ting slowly opened his eyes. A flash of purple lightning flickered in his eyes, which disappeared instantly. Round Ball, how long do we have until we reach the Great Qian Empire? Wang Ting asked in his mind. We're halfway there. We went through 2 wormholes and have left the Olent Federation. Round Ball was staring aimlessly at the emptiness outside the control room when it heard Wang Ting's voice. It was elated and replied in a hurry. Oh, continue sailing. I'll resume my cultivation. Wang Ting went silent. Round Ball's expression froze. Hey, come out and talk to me. I'm so bored. Don't keep cultivating. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Round Ball must be extremely bored. It continued complaining and nagging when it didn't receive any reply from Wang Ting. Wang Ting disregarded it and continued his cultivation. He cultivated his force while figuring out how to use his void mayflies. He didn't just cultivate when he was in the cultivation room. Sometimes, he would take out the void mayflies and study how to use them. This was his way of relieving boredom and relaxing. There were some effects. As he played with them, he accidentally managed to merge the spiritual shield and spiritual illusion into their bodies. That meant that based on what Round Ball said, he succeeded. But the success rate was a little low. Then, another attribute appeared on his attributes panel. Anger of the Void Mayflies, 10100, Foundation. What's with this name? No one would understand how speechless Wang Ting felt when he saw the name of this skill. He felt that the system was mocking him, but Wang Ting had no choice but to accept it. What else could he do? Was he supposed to oppose the system? Wang Ting took a deep breath and removed all useless thoughts from his mind. He started practicing the anger of the Void Mayflies. Actually, he could use his blank attributes, but he didn't want to waste them. He felt that he should rely on himself. Also, his enlightenment was high, so it would be a waste not to use it. Time flew as he was cultivating. Another 8 days passed. Round Ball's agitated and serious voice suddenly appeared in Wang Ting's mind. Wang Ting, the people from the Olent Federation are here again. Damn it, we have already left the Olent Federation, but they are still chasing us relentlessly. Wang Ting frowned. He had to stop his cultivation and go to the command room. Look. Round Ball pointed at a dot on the screen. They hide well. There must be some powerful concealing device on their spacecraft, but they can't escape my eyes. I still discovered them. I'll take a look. Wang Ting contemplated and decided to act personally. All right, be careful. Round Ball had witnessed how he destroyed the 10 battlecraft earlier, so it wasn't worried about him. Chapter 897, The Dawn of Cosmos Stage. Wang Ting was a daredevil with superb skills. He wore his battle armor and flew out of the QYE-63 spacecraft. Then, he executed the shadow merging secret skill to conceal himself. Round Ball sent the exact position of the chasers to Wang Teng's wristwatch. Wang Ting glanced at his wristwatch. After confirming the location, he spread out his wings of wind and lightning and flapped them gently. Wind and lightning energies were released along with a faint thunder. He disappeared on the spot. Planetary stage martial warriors were able to travel in the universe without any external help. Wang Teng had the wings of wind and lightning, so his speed increased tremendously. Traveling through a short distance in space was a piece of cake for him. After approximately 10 minutes, Wang Teng finally saw a large dark yellow flying saucer-shaped spacecraft. It was marked with the symbol of the Olent Federation. This spacecraft was bigger than the 10 spacecraft that had chased them many days ago. It was like a battle fortress moving in the universe. Wang Teng's gaze changed. He turned serious. He didn't act recklessly. Instead, he landed on a meteor nearby and activated his spiritual sight and eyes of essence to scan the spacecraft. He wanted to get a gauge of his enemy's strength. Energy flowed into his eyes. The situation inside the spacecraft was laid out clearly in front of him. Nothing could escape his gaze. Please keep reading on myboxen 0VEL. C0M balls of light representing the various martial warriors appeared in his vision. Gasp. He couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. F***K, they think too highly of me. There were at least 200 planetary stage martial warriors and more than 50 celestial stage martial warriors in this spacecraft. The numbers were frightening. Even he would have a difficult time dealing with so many people. Yet, this still wasn't the main point. The crucial factor was, there was an extremely dazzling and glaring ball of light. Cosmos stage. This was a real Cosmos stage martial warrior. It wasn't a spiritual mark like Nangong Yu or a wisp of spirit like Agulus. This was a real Cosmos stage martial warrior. How was he supposed to fight? I should run away. Wang Teng made his decision almost instantly. He would be tempting fate if he fought face-to-face with a Cosmos stage martial warrior. In the universe, planetary stage and celestial stage martial warriors were nothing. Only Cosmos stage martial warriors could be considered important figures in their territory. Why was this so? The most direct factor was the difference in strength. Please keep reading on myboxen 0VEL. C0M Cosmos stage martial warriors were much more powerful than celestial stage martial warriors. Thus, when he saw the Cosmos stage martial warrior's ball of force light, he knew that this trip would be futile. It would be hard for him to sneak in and detonate the energy core. Once he was discovered, the Cosmos stage martial warrior could arrive immediately and kill him. Even if he successfully detonated it, he wouldn't be able to kill the Cosmos stage martial warrior. His opponent's physical body could withstand the impact of the explosion. Of course, it also depended on the size of the spacecraft. This spacecraft wasn't big enough to kill a Cosmos stage martial warrior. Round Ball. Prepare to retreat. Full speed ahead. I'll be back immediately. Wang Ting contacted Round Ball, his grave voice entering its ears. What happened? Round Ball was shocked. This was the first time it heard Wang Ting speaking in such a grim tone. It wondered what he saw. There's a Cosmos stage martial warrior. Wang Teng replied briefly and kept quiet. He needed to face this crisis with full attention. He was hiding behind the meteor and had retracted his aura to the maximum. He knew that the spacecraft wouldn't detect him, but he didn't dare to promise that he could escape the Cosmos stage martial warrior's senses. Cosmos stage. Round Ball's expression changed. It was in disbelief. They sent a Cosmos stage martial warrior. Is the Olent Federation crazy? At the same time, in the Olent Federation's spacecraft, a stern-looking elder in a grey gown suddenly opened his eyes in the command room. There was a sharp glint in them. "Huh! Mr. Cloet." A 9th-level celestial stage martial warrior hurriedly greeted him at the side. "Attack that meteor." The Cosmos stage martial warrior called Cloet pointed at a meteor on the screen in front of him. Yes. Although the other martial warriors didn't understand why, they still obeyed his order and aimed the rune weapons on this spacecraft on the marked meteor. Boom! A beam of light shot out. Wang Ting was preparing to retreat when his expression changed. Damn it, I got discovered. He used his space physique without any hesitation. The power of space surged out of his body, and the air below his feet became distorted. His figure vanished on the spot. Boom! The next second, the beam of light struck the meteor. The huge meteor disintegrated into powder and became cosmic dust. They dissipated in the endless universe. A few hundred meters away from the meteor, Wang Ting appeared following a distortion in the space around him. He looked at the destroyed meteor with lingering fear. He hurriedly pushed his speed to the maximum with the help of the wings of wind and lightning and dashed towards the QYE-63 spacecraft without turning back. Continue attacking. A strange gaze flashed past his eyes when Cloet noticed that Wang Ting wasn't dead. He raised his hand and pointed at Wang Ting's position again as he spoke in a calm tone. Boom! The rune weapon changed direction and aimed its muzzle at Wang Ting. It fired a beam of light. Wang Ting felt his head turning numb. His hair stood up, and he had to activate his space talent once again to run away, shifting his position instantly. The beam of light missed. He managed to precariously dodge the lethal blow again. Both attacks failed. Cloet's face turned black. This little mouse is good at running away. A 9th-level Celestial Stage martial warrior observed Cloet's expression and noticed that he seemed irritated. Hence, he hurriedly came to alleviate the tense atmosphere. This 9th-level martial warrior had long hair and a pair of fox ears. There was also a furry fox tail behind his back. He looked unique. There were many races in the universe. Hence, it wasn't rare to see orcs or dwarfs. This 9th-level Celestial Stage martial warrior was a member of the fox race. Let's play with him then. Cloet's expression turned gentle. He gave a contemptuous look. Don't worry. He won't be able to escape, the 9th-level fox martial warrior said respectfully. Cloet didn't speak. He handed this matter to his 9th-level Celestial Stage martial warrior from the fox race. A few other Celestial Stage martial warriors got envious when they saw the fox race martial warrior getting the limelight. There was a huge difference between the 9th-level Celestial Stage and the Cosmos Stage. They were all fighting for the chance to escape from their current fate. Now that they were under the wings of the Cosmos Stage martial warrior, Cloet, they had to work hard to perform so as to gain recognition and the opportunity to get more resources. This was the only way they could accumulate their efforts in hope that one day, it would pay off and they would reach the Cosmos Stage. They would be able to dominate their land when the day came. Chapter 898, Strike. Quick, quick, faster. Round Ball found Wang Ting's position. It was extremely nervous and kept muttering to itself. The Olant Federation spacecraft chased after Wang Ting relentlessly. Beams of light inundated him without a stop. This was like a cat-and-mouse game, but in actual fact, this was an illusion Wang Ting had created for his opponents. He possessed space talent, so once he was prepared, he could evade his opponent's attacks easily. However, he didn't do it. He pretended that his every dodge was precarious. It was as if he just managed to dodge the attacks due to luck. The martial warriors from the Olant Federation didn't think that Wang Ting could escape, so they weren't in a rush. They continued tailing him closely. Round Ball, open the cabin door. More than 10 minutes later, Wang Ting finally reached the QYE-63 spacecraft. Please keep reading on myboxen 0VEL. C0MOK. Round Ball was invigorated. It quickly opened the cabin door. Swoosh. Wang Ting increased his speed and dashed into the QYE-63 spacecraft. But the concealing mode of the spacecraft was also deactivated, and its real form was revealed. The people from the Olant Federation saw it at once. Lock in their spacecraft. The 9th-level Celestial Stage martial warrior from the Fox race smiled. His gaze turned sharp. Attack and destroy their spacecraft. Cloet ordered calmly. Yes, the Fox race martial warrior replied in a low voice. Boom. The instant he finished speaking, the attacks were launched. They flew directly toward the QYE-63 spacecraft. The beams traveled through space and arrived right before the QYE-63 spacecraft within 3 seconds. However, it disappeared without a trace and shot forward at an incredible speed. After Wang Ting contacted Roundball, it had already gathered energy reserves for the acceleration. The spacecraft was ready to escape once Wang Ting returned. This was a merit of a Cosmos-level spacecraft. Only such a spacecraft was sturdy and tough enough to withstand the instant acceleration without disintegrating. Cosmos-level spacecraft. Cloet stood up abruptly in the Olent Federation's spacecraft. He was overjoyed. The other Celestial Stage martial warriors noticed this too and were in disbelief. Their opponent possessed a Cosmos-level spacecraft. Didn't they say that he escaped from an underdeveloped planet? Why did he possess a Cosmos-level spacecraft only available to Cosmos Stage martial warriors? This doesn't make sense. Mind you, every Cosmos-level spacecraft cost a fortune. If they could get their hands on one, they would be rich. However, they knew that it had nothing to do with them. Please keep reading on myboxen 0VL. C0M. From Mr. Cloet's look, they could tell that he was determined to get this Cosmos-level spacecraft. No wonder I couldn't catch them even after sending 10 spacecraft. Candice even died in their hands, Cloet said in deep thought. He thought that the Cosmos-level spacecraft was what caused the destruction of the 10 Universal spacecraft. He didn't think that they were actually destroyed by the planetary stage newbie, Wang Ting. Chase. Chase after them. Stop attacking. I want an intact Cosmos-level spacecraft. They will only have a limited amount of energy. Well, chase them until they are out of juice. Cloet's eyes shone brightly. There was greed on his face as he hurled orders one after another. This was a Cosmos-level spacecraft. He only had one Cosmos-level spacecraft, and it had cost him half his fortune. How could he not get excited when he saw a similar spacecraft that he could snatch with extreme ease? The other Celestial Stage martial warriors sighed. They had no choice but to obey his order. Wang Ting returned to the spacecraft and looked back sternly. He was stunned. Have they stopped attacking? Roundball thought of something and snorted. Looks like our opponent is very greedy. Wang Ting frowned. He didn't understand what Roundball meant. They are probably waiting for the energy in our spacecraft to be exhausted. Then, they can catch us without any effort and gain a perfect Cosmos-level spacecraft at the same time, Roundball explained. I see. Wang Ting was enlightened. He was caught between laughter and tears. A chase became a robbery. Why do you think they are chasing us so hard? It's for their own interests too. It's extremely difficult to raise your ability in the universe. No one will give up any chance to get more resources. Roundball felt emotional. Wang Ting had just entered the universe, but there was already someone who wanted to give him a brutal lesson. Since they want to chase, let them chase us. Wang Ting smirked and asked, how long more do we need to reach the Great Qian Empire? Soon. About 2 more days to reach the Great Qian Empire, Roundball sniggered. It didn't finish its sentence, but its meaning was clear. 2 more days. Wang Ting's eyes shimmered. Let's hope they can wait for 2 days. Don't worry. They don't know that we're heading to the Great Qian Empire. Since they want our spacecraft, they won't give up so easily, Roundball replied confidently. Although they're not attacking us, we can't allow them to chase us so freely, Wang Ting said with a twirl of his pupils. What do you want to do? Attack them. Roundball understood Wang Ting's idea immediately. It gave a sinister smile. Haha, let's play with their mentality. As expected, the Olent Federation spacecraft stopped attacking for the next 2 days. Instead, Wang Ting and Roundball would activate the rune weapons on their spacecraft and fire at the Olent Federation spacecraft. The weapons they had were enough to damage a Cosmos-level spacecraft. Hence, it would spell trouble if the Olent Federation spacecraft was hit. The Olent Federation's martial warriors were frustrated. They were the pursuers here. Why did they have to dodge their opponent's attacks carefully as if they were the ones getting chased? Roundball, move. You won't be able to hit them with your accuracy. Let me do it. Wang Ting pushed Roundball away without any hesitation and took control of the spacecraft's weapon control system. He aimed at the Olant Federation's spacecraft behind them. TSK, your accuracy isn't good either. You didn't hit them once during these 2 days. Round Ball pouted unhappily. I gave in to them. Watch me. We're reaching our destination soon. Let's give them some surprises. Wang Ting rubbed his hands in excitement. Round Ball looked at the map, nodded, and replied, yes, we're entering the territory of the Great Qian Empire soon. But they will notice it too. That's why we need to hit them and create some trouble, Wang Ting said. Round Ball finally understood Wang Ting's intention. Compared to it, this fellow was more evil and sly. Wang Ting stopped bickering with Round Ball and put his attention on the control system. A rune cannon at the bottom of the spacecraft gradually adjusted its direction, searching for the weak segment of its opponent. Wang Ting even sent his void mayflies out. The void mayflies formed a straight line from the cannon to his opponent's spacecraft. That way, he would be able to lock on his target accurately. Of course, time was needed for the attack to travel through space. Besides, his opponents were on guard, so they would have enough time to make an evasive maneuver. This was why they couldn't hit them. Wang Ting understood this too. A solution popped up in his mind. Power of space. With the power of space, he could change the direction of the attack halfway through and catch his opponents off guard. Boom. Wang Ting pressed the fire button with this thought in mind. A beam of light shot out. Chimph, does he think he can hit us with these attacks? The Fox Race Celestial Stage Martial Warrior sneered. The intelligence on the spacecraft had already planned the evasion route without his reminder. The spacecraft started shifting horizontally. However, right then, the beam of light suddenly tilted its angle in the middle and crashed right into the Olant Federation spacecraft. Boom! A huge explosion sounded. Sparks flew everywhere, and the Olant Federation's spacecraft suffered a huge blow. Beep! The left wing is damaged, the left wing is damaged, a shrill alert sounded on the spacecraft. The Fox Race Martial Warrior was flabbergasted. One behind him, Chloet's face had turned as black as ink. Chapter 899, Revenge is a dish best served hot. 1. The atmosphere turned extremely tense on the Olant Federation's spacecraft. The ear-splitting siren echoed in the entire spacecraft. Everyone panicked. Everyone stared at Chloet. They could feel the flames of anger he was barely suppressing. Why are you standing there? Send someone to repair the spacecraft. If anything happens to it, I'll find you all for an answer. The angry bellow that came out of this Cosmos Stage Martial Warrior's mouth drowned out the siren. Everyone shuddered. They immediately regained their senses and started arranging for the engineering robots to head to the damaged areas for repair. The Fox Race Celestial Stage Martial Warrior couldn't care about Wang Ting anymore. He felt frustrated under Chloet's death glare. A chill went up his spine, and he could only leave to make the repairs personally. He knew that if he didn't do a satisfactory job, Mr. Chloet would never forgive him. Chloet retracted his cold gaze after the Fox Race Martial Warrior left. He looked at the QYE-63 spacecraft that took this chance to soar ahead. Mr. The Great Qian Empire is right ahead, a martial warrior who was checking the map suddenly reported. The universe was vast. A spacecraft would often enter an unfamiliar planetary sector and lose its way. Thus, there was always a navigator on each spacecraft in charge of checking the universe map. Of course, there were some spacecraft that allowed their intelligence to predict their location. It worked the same way. Please keep reading on myboxen 0VEL. C0M Great Qian Empire. Chloet was shocked. Why are they here? Mr. Chloet, they seem to be heading for the Great Qian Empire, the navigator said. Damn it, why are they going to the Great Qian Empire? Chloet was surprised and furious. How can a martial warrior from an undeveloped planet know about the Great Qian Empire? Is this a coincidence? Or is this their destination? Wait, this person has a Cosmos-level spacecraft. He might know about the Great Qian Empire. Chloet's mind spun furiously. Thoughts flashed through his mind, and his gaze turned vicious. No, I can't allow him to enter the Great Qian Empire. I won't be able to get the Cosmos-level spacecraft if he did. Round Ball's jaws dropped as it stared at Wang Ting in astonishment. One could throw an egg inside. How did you do it? Guess. Wang Ting glanced at it and replied calmly. Guess your head. Round Ball shot back. This is serious stuff. How did you do it? Although the Olant Federation spacecraft dodged in time, you managed to let the beam of light change direction. Wang Ting shook his head and decided to stop teasing it. Space shift. What? Round Ball was dumbstruck. You can space shift already? Is there a problem with that? Wang Ting glanced at Round Ball. He felt that it was kicking up a fuss over nothing. That's space shift. People who have not been immersed in space cultivation for a long time cannot achieve this. Round Ball took a deep breath and looked at Wang Ting as if he were a monster. Wang Ting hadn't hit 20 yet, right? How long had he been cultivating? How could he have reached this stage so quickly? This talent. Round Ball didn't know how to describe it anymore. Please keep reading on myboxen 0VL. C0M Keep calm. Keep calm. Wang Ting waved his hand and appeared nonchalant. Round Ball felt that its expressions were disregarded and felt exasperated. This fellow wasn't on the same frequency. At the same time, it felt dejected too. It was supposed to be a knowledgeable and experienced intelligent life form. Why did it appear like a country bumpkin in front of Wang Ting? One, it had seen many talents, so it thought that it could educate Wang Ting. In the end, it realized that those talents were nothing when compared to him. Round Ball sighed in its heart. It was in low spirits as it floated around Wang Ting like a spirit. It almost went into depression. Cough, are you depressed? Wang Ting felt a little guilty when he saw its reaction. Did he boast too much? He even managed to make this intelligent life form dejected. Round Ball raised its head to look at him and sighed once again. Come on, I'm kidding. I worked hard too. You don't know how hard I work, Wang Ting consoled it. Alright, I know you're extremely gifted. Don't try to comfort me with those words. Round Ball felt a little touched when Wang Ting tried to cheer it up. It gathered its emotions and waved its hands, pretending that it didn't care. Then, it started educating him again. There are still many talents in the universe. There are a number of people who have managed to reach the cosmos stage at your age. You're gifted, but don't be conceited. You will only have the right to fight with them if you reach the cosmos stage. Yes, I understand. I'll work hard to reach the cosmos stage as soon as possible. Wang Ting chuckled. He didn't mind Round Ball nagging at him. Round Ball might be naggy and loved to boast, but it had his well-being in mind. Also, it provided him much help on his cultivation journey. This intelligent life form was perfect support. Wang Ting wanted to maintain a good relationship with it. Chapter 900. Revenge is a dish best served hot. 2. Glad that you know. Round Ball glanced at Wang Ting and snorted. Then, it turned serious. Alright, let's stop talking nonsense. We're entering the Great Qian Empire's territory soon. They have probably discovered our motive, so we need to deal with them carefully. Boom. As soon as it finished speaking, there was a loud explosion, and the spacecraft suddenly shook violently. Defense shield damaged. Shields are at 95%. An alarm sounded. At the same time, the 3D image projection of the spacecraft appeared automatically. The shields at the rear of the spacecraft had been hit. What's happening? Wang Ting was shocked and unprepared. The spacecraft is under attack. Round Ball's expression changed, and it immediately started the panorama mode. With a flash of light, the surroundings turned into space, only to see a crimson light quickly approaching from behind. Oh no, it's the Cosmos Stage Martial Warrior. Round Ball was astonished. The crimson ball of light that was chasing them was Cloet of the Cosmos Stage. Please keep reading on myboxen 0VL. C0M. He actually went out and tried to intercept them to stop Wang Ting from entering Great Qian Empire's territory. Speed up. Wang Ting said hurriedly with a solemn expression. A Cosmos Stage Martial Warrior is too fast. It looks like we have to use our final plan. Seeing that Cloet was getting closer and closer, Round Ball was extremely anxious. Boom. The The spacecraft shook violently again. Defense shields damaged. Shields are at 87%. The alarm sounded at once. Cloet kept attacking the QYE-63 spacecraft as he got closer. His attacks damaged the shields but didn't scratch the hull of the spacecraft. They all landed at the right spots. If the hull was attacked, it would cause too much damage, and it couldn't be repaired completely. Obviously, he wasn't giving up and wanted to obtain the QYE-63 spacecraft. He was extremely attracted to Cosmos-level spacecraft. Even a Cosmos stage martial warrior like him wouldn't give that up easily. At this moment, Wang Teng was standing firmly in the QYE-63 spacecraft. His face darkened slightly as he bellowed, "Don't hesitate anymore. Carry out the final plan." Yes. Round Ball made a decision. It knew that if it didn't act now, they would really be cornered once the defense shields were down. They wouldn't be able to escape. If it wasn't necessary, I would never use this plan. Forcibly increasing the spacecraft's speed to an unbearable level will cause permanent damage to it. If we're not careful, the spacecraft will be wrecked. Round Ball started to operate as it explained. It was an intelligent life form and instantly connected to the control systems, operating them quickly. On the screen in front of them, red codes flickered and almost flooded it. It was difficult even for a planetary stage martial warrior like Wang Teng to see clearly. Boom. Please keep reading on myboxen 0VEL. C0M defense shields damaged. Shields are at 74%. Boom. Defense shields damaged. Shields are at 69%. 1 boom. Defense shields damaged. Shields are at 57%. Outside, Cloet's attacks landed on the shields continuously, causing them to shake violently and forming cracks that looked like webs. The alarm always rang timely and reported the shield damages, tensing up the atmosphere. Is it done? The shields can't hold up any longer. Although Wang Ting was emotionless, his voice carried a trace of urgency. Soon. Soon. Round Ball wiped its non-existent sweat off its forehead and responded. It wasn't easy to alter the acceleration program of the spacecraft. After all, doing so was tantamount to destroying the spacecraft. It would take a certain amount of time to confirm the program before it could be executed. Boom. Defense shields damaged. Shields are at 36%. The alarm had turned completely red as it gave off a sense of urgency. I know you can hear me. At this moment, a majestic voice resounded. Wang Ting turned sharply to look at the Cosmos stage martial warrior. They were looking at each other in space. I shall give you one last chance. Stop your resistance and give up your spacecraft. I can let go of the past and make you my underlings. You only get one chance. Your choice. Submit, or die. That voice was not only majestic, but it was also bubbling over with murderous intent. Damn. This stupid old man is daydreaming. Round Ball was enraged and couldn't stop itself from cursing. Wang Teng was also seething with rage. His eyes flashed, and he was ready to fight back. He wasn't someone who would get bullied. Revenge was a dish best served hot. Although he couldn't beat him physically, he wouldn't lose verbally. Stupid old man. Wang Teng's voice passed through space and entered Cloet's ears. Only people who had reached the planetary stage could do something like this. By coating sound with force, it was able to penetrate the boundless space. Listen well. I'll give you a chance too. Kneel down now and call me Grandpa 300 times, or I'll make you call me Grandpa when I return in the future. Wang Teng's voice had a hint of impudence and amazing power. When it reached Cloet's ears, he flew off the handle. How dare you? Damn it. Cloet was furious. He was a Cosmos stage martial warrior, but the other party actually dared to ask him to kneel down and call him Grandpa. And 300 times. Who gave him the guts to do so? Cloet's angry voice was deafening, and Wang Teng couldn't help but dig his ears. Stupid old man, you only have one chance. If you don't seize it, don't blame me for being rude in the future. Not only will I make you call me Grandpa, but I'll also sell all your descendants as slaves. The males will do tough labor while the females will sell their bodies. I'll make them pay for what you did to me today. One, don't think too highly of yourself. You're just a cosmos stage warrior. My teacher is an eternal stage martial warrior. Do you know how strong he is? I don't think you know. After all, you're just a cosmos stage weakling. I don't even know how many universe stage martial warriors are my teacher's disciples. Someone like you will not even be qualified to serve him tea. Killing you is akin to squashing an ant. Wang Teng started bluffing and bombarding the other party with words. As Round Ball listened to him, it started to show a weird expression. This fellow is really cheeky. That mouth of his was enough to anger someone to death. Chloet's chest pumped up and down. He was fuming, and his hair was standing upright. Ah! I will kill you, brat. A terrifying roar resounded and shook the space. He had almost lost his mind because of Wang Ting. He didn't even care about the eternal stage. He just wanted to kill Wang Ting. Damn, this old man wouldn't have a hemorrhage, right? Wang Ting said. Boom. Seething, Chloet charged over like a huge fireball. Round Ball, are you done? Hes catching up. Wang Ting shouted. Weren't you enjoying yourself just now? Why are you in such a hurry all of a sudden? Round Ball raised its head and sneered. Wang Ting's face turned black. This Round Ball still had the cheek to tease him at a time like this. Don't worry, it's done. Round Ball snickered and stopped teasing him. Wang Ting took a closer look. It turned out that at some point, the codes on the screen had been locked in. Sit tight. It's starting to accelerate, Round Ball said. Wang Teng was stunned and quickly grabbed the armrest of the seat next to him. The spacecraft was extremely stable. Even when it was accelerating, no one could feel anything inside. However, Round Ball actually told him to sit tight. He suddenly looked forward to the nitrous boost. How fast would it be? Boom. Suddenly, the spacecraft shook violently, and Wang Ting's entire body was almost thrown off. Outside, Chloet was about to catch up with the spacecraft with a ferocious look on his face. He was already thinking about how to torture them. However, just as he was about to do so, the spacecraft suddenly vanished and escaped at a terrifying speed. Chloet froze in place as if he had swallowed a mouthful of ash. He looked embarrassed and felt like he had been toyed around with. His entire face turned red. Chapter 901, Attack. The Angry Mayflies. Chloet's face turned ice-cold. His gaze was filled with piercing killing intent. His body turned into a ray of light as he raised his speed to the maximum of the Cosmos stage. The speed of a Cosmos stage marital warrior was on par with a Cosmos-level spacecraft. However, force was limited, so he couldn't travel for long periods like the spacecraft. Also, the Cosmos stage martial warrior's body would tire out. He would be in danger easily if he met any accidents. Thus, Cosmos stage martial warriors rarely traveled the universe with their physical bodies. Usually, they would travel in spacecraft. However, Chloet didn't take any of this into consideration. He just wanted to catch up with the spacecraft ahead as quickly as he could. This earthling dared to humiliate him. He had to make him kneel and beg him for mercy. Round Ball and Wang Ting couldn't see Chloet behind them anymore. They heaved a small sigh of relief. We got rid of him temporarily. Don't relax. That Cosmos stage martial warrior might have some secret ways to increase his speed. We'll be in trouble if he's willing to stop us at the risk of his own life, Round Ball analyzed. Our energy reserve is limited. I'm not sure if it's able to last until we reach the territory of the Great Qian Empire. Wang Ting nodded. He didn't dare to put his guard down at all. Move ahead at full speed. The rest will depend on our luck. Silence reigned in the spacecraft. Both parties turned quiet as they stared intently at the map, observing the distance between them and the Cosmos stage martial warrior while gauging their distance from the Great Qian Empire. Half an hour later, the spacecraft suddenly trembled. The alert rang out. Please keep reading on MyBoxen 0VEL. C0M alert. Spacecraft is overloaded at 150%. Alert. Spacecraft is overloaded at 150%. Alert. Spacecraft is overloaded at 150%. Important things must be said thrice, and so did the warning of the spacecraft. Wang Ting and Round Ball's expressions changed entirely. Their hearts almost jumped out of their throats. They had to raise the load of the spacecraft. The spacecraft was working at more than 100%. It had even reached 150% and was completely overloaded. The spacecraft wasn't designed to withstand this speed. As expected. The moment the overload alert rang out, another warning resounded. Alert. Spacecraft body damaged. Damage is at 3.5%. Alert. Spacecraft body damaged. Damage is at 4.5%. Alert. Spacecraft body damaged. Damage is at 6.5%. A small patch of red had appeared on the left wing on the 3D image of the spacecraft in the room. This red zone was spreading continuously, extremely glaring to the eye. This was the damaged part. Wang Ting and Round Ball's expressions turned ugly. Boom. At this moment, the map also detected a powerful energy fluctuation closing in rapidly. This belonged to the Cosmos Stage Martial Warrior, Cloet. Please keep reading on myboxen 0VEL. C0M troubles never came alone. Wang Ting and Round Ball were in a bad mood. They felt like cursing. Did fate have to be so ruthless? The spacecraft was about to collapse and the Cosmos Stage Martial Warrior had caught up with them. Where was their way out? Wang Ting's face turned black. He took a deep breath and glanced at the star chart. Then, his eyes lit up. Don't panic. We'll reach the Great Qian Empire soon. Continue accelerating. Huh? Continue accelerating? The spacecraft can't handle it anymore. Round Ball widened its eyes in surprise. This spacecraft was Nangong Yu's possession. It didn't wish to destroy it. Don't bullshit. Listen to me, Wang Ting ordered. Round Ball was unreliable. Was this the time to care about this mere worldly possession? No wonder Nangong Yu died. What Wang Ting didn't know was, not everyone had the guts to give up a Cosmos-level spacecraft. Even a Cosmos Stage Martial Warrior like Cloet got overtaken by his greed when he saw a Cosmos-level spacecraft and desired to make it his own. Yet, Wang Ting didn't care. Round Ball also got influenced by him. It gritted its teeth and obeyed Wang Ting's order. The spacecraft continued accelerating. The vibrations got more and more violent. Wang Ting heard a crack when the spacecraft couldn't withstand the pressure. It made his heart wrench. Alert. Spacecraft body damaged. Damage is at 10%. Alert. Spacecraft body damaged. Damage is at 15%. Alert. Spacecraft body damaged. Damage is at 18%. Continue accelerating. Wang Ting was filled with apprehension. F***K, will they fall together with the spacecraft? Am I digging my own grave? This was thrilling. This was exhilarating. Alert. Spacecraft body damaged. Damage is at 23%. Alert. Spacecraft body damaged. Damage is at 35%. Alert. Spacecraft body damaged. Damage is at 38%. Every single time the alert rang, the corners of Wang Ting's eyes twitched. He felt like his heart was undergoing increasingly greater pressure. Someone with a weaker mentality might have already broken down. At the same time, Cloet received a message from the navigator on his spacecraft. Mister, they will be entering the Great Qian Empire in 3 minutes. Damn it. Cloet's expression changed. His face became hideous, and his gaze flickered non-stop. He seemed to be in a dilemma. After a few seconds, his expression turned cold-blooded. He made his decision. He had chased them so far. It was impossible to give up now. Boom. A powerful aura erupted from his body. Terrifying fire force gushed out. His entire body seemed to have started burning, creating a powerful push force. Cloet disappeared on the spot. Not even his lingering shadows could be seen. His speed rose exponentially. The gap between them got closer and closer. Wang Ting, that old fellow has caught up with us again. Round Ball's eyes widened in astonishment when it saw Cloet's speed increasing so quickly. It was thunderstruck. Wang Ting turned grim. Many thoughts went through his mind as he brainstormed for a solution. Suddenly, He had a eureka moment. A smile appeared at the corner of his lips. "Old man, have a taste of my angry mayflies." In an instant, a glow appeared on Wang Teng's forehead. Small light dots flew out. They penetrated the steel walls of the spacecraft and flew toward Cloet behind them. These small dots of light weren't conspicuous when they scattered in the universe. Also, these void mayflies didn't exude any evil intentions, so they didn't attract anyone's attention. Cloet didn't notice anything amiss. He continued rushing towards the QYE-63 spacecraft. At this moment, a void mayfly suddenly landed on Cloet's head. The spiritual skill etched in its body was released. The spiritual skill etched in this void mayfly's body was the spiritual spike. A sharp spike formed from spiritual power stabbed into Cloet's mind. Cloet finally felt the dawn of danger. He was appalled. However, he didn't have any time to prepare since they were too close. Boom! The spiritual spike stabbed into Cloet's mind. He suffered a serious injury at once. Clutching his head, he wailed in pain. Ah! 1. Chapter 902, Cloet was a cosmos-stage martial warrior. His spirit had reached the celestial realm, but so had Wang Teng's. Thus, the injury caused by the spiritual spike was significant even though Cloet was extremely powerful. Of course, it would be stronger if Wang Ting had executed it personally. Strike! Wang Ting was elated when he saw this scene. What strike? What happened? Why is the cosmos stage martial warrior screaming? Round Ball asked in surprise. Haha, I followed your instructions and etched my spiritual skills in the bodies of the void mayflies. I put it to test on the cosmos stage martial warrior. Wang Ting chuckled. You succeeded? Round Ball couldn't believe its ears. Shall I pull it back and wait for some time? Wang Ting asked. Pull it back and wait. Please keep reading on MYB0X novel. C0M. It felt that Wang Ting was teasing it. However, it had to admit that this move was appropriate. They successfully caught the cosmos stage martial warrior off guard. Wang Ting might seem unreliable at times, but he never fumbled the ball during crucial moments. This was good enough. Continue. Continue. We must stop that cosmos stage martial warrior. Round Ball didn't have the time to be angry at Wang Ting. It hurried him excitedly. Wang Ting smiled. Even without Round Ball's reminder, he had already ordered the void mayflies to continue flying towards the cosmos stage martial warrior while Cloet was suffering from excruciating pain. Cloet didn't know what attacked him, so he could only bear the pain in his head and glance around him. At this moment, another void mayfly landed on his head. The spiritual skill etched in it was spiritual illusion. When the spiritual illusion skill was executed, Cloet entered an illusion. A huge spiritual labyrinth appeared. He was lost inside. This was an illusion of the spiritual labyrinth left by Nangong Yu. Wang Teng turned it into an illusion and added some spices to it. Muscular figures gradually appeared in the labyrinth and surrounded Cloet. They were all naked. The problem was, they were all males. This scene was a little unsightly. It should be pixelated. Cloet's face turned green. Although he knew that this was an illusion, he couldn't break it. He felt so disgusted he felt like vomiting his food out. Which idiot made this? This is cruel. How dare he use this sneaky move on me? This person was inhumane. Please keep reading on MYB0X novel. C0M. Mr. Come and play. The muscular figures squeezed closer. They had orchid fingers, and they were moving their bodies softly and seductively. Blarg! Cloet's expression changed. He started retching. He was honestly disgusted. Go away. He glared at them and swept his spiritual power around him. Destroy. Celestial realm spirit clashed into the illusion, creating circles of invisible airwaves. It swept around him and the masculine figures turned into dots of lights and dissipated. But another batch of bulky men appeared after the previous batch disappeared. Cloet looked at the white naked bodies around him and felt cold sweat on his forehead. Outside, Round Ball was astounded when it saw Cloet freezing on the spot. What secret skill did you use on him? Why is he not moving? Spiritual illusion. Wang Tung smiled. You have so many skills, Round Ball exclaimed. They used this chance to widen the distance between them and Cloet once again. Suddenly, a pitch-black shadow appeared in front of them. It was linked in a row and stood horizontally in the universe. It was like a giant wild beast lying prone, awaiting its prey. It was scary. As the spacecraft got nearer, they realized that this was a huge and frightening universe fleet. There were countless battlecraft in the fleet, building a space station with a planet as their support. It was like a battle fortress. We're here. We're finally here. Round Ball's eyes lit up. It pulled Wang Ting and shouted happily, "I see it." An involuntary smile crept onto his face. The journey had been extremely tough, but they had finally arrived at their destination, the Great Qian Empire. "Don't even think about going over without my permission." Suddenly, a furious roar was heard behind them. It rang in space like thunder. Cloet had caught up with them. Holding a blade with a dazzling red blade glow shimmering around it, he slashed it at the spaceship. By now, he knew that it was impossible to stop the Cosmos-level spacecraft without damaging it. Thus, he gave up his original plan and decided to just bring Wang Ting back, dead or alive. Cloet finally attacked. The blade glow slashed forward and landed directly on the QYE-63 spacecraft's shield. There was a violent tremor. The defense shield was already damaged. With this blow, it shattered instantly. The blade glow slammed right on the spacecraft, leaving a pitch-black blade mark. Fortunately, the Cosmos-level spacecraft was made using Cosmos-level materials, so it could withstand the attack of a Cosmos-stage martial warrior. This blade mark remained on the surface. It didn't damage the internal structure of the spacecraft. However, the spacecraft still vibrated violently due to the powerful attack. Wang Ting and Round Ball's expressions underwent a huge change. "This old fellow is getting desperate," Round Ball fumed. "Round Ball, open the cabin door." Wang Ting's face was ice-cold as he dashed out. "What are you doing?" Round Ball shouted in a hurry. "Open." Wang Ting didn't reply to it, vanishing with his shout. Round Ball stomped its feet in mid-air. It had no choice but to open the cabin door. Wang Ting flew out and stepped into dark space. "Little brat, you're finally willing to come out," Cloet sneered. Wang Ting glared at him. The golden crescent blade appeared in boundless space and spun over like a beam of golden light. Cloet was unfazed, possessing the confidence of a Cosmos-stage martial warrior. He snorted when he saw a planetary-stage martial warrior having the guts to attack him. But when the golden crescent blade was around 30 meters away from him, his expression changed. He became a little more serious. He swung his blade down viciously. The two of them clashed. Force exploded, and a metallic ringing sound echoed in the universe. The golden crescent blade was thrown out due to the huge impact. Under Wang Ting's control, it spun back at a high speed and attacked Cloet. "Divine Spirit Master." Cloet's expression turned ugly. He didn't expect Wang Ting to be a divine spirit master too. Moreover, he had probably reached the same realm as him, the celestial realm. How could a native from an underdeveloped planet possess such potential? Killing intent erupted from Cloet's body like a volcano. Force surged out, and he knocked the golden crescent blade away with his blade. Then he dashed towards Wang Ting. Wang Ting opened his wings of wind and lightning and dodged the blade glow. He charged in the direction of the Great Qian Empire's fleet. An item appeared in his hand. He raised it above his head and shouted loudly, "I'm Wang Ting. I'm here with the Empire's Baron token." As his voice flowed through space, a gasp was heard within the fleet. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 903. Cloet was chasing Wang Ting when he heard these words. His expression changed entirely, becoming hideous. The token of Baron of the Great Qian Empire. He didn't think that this little brat who had escaped from that underdeveloped planet would possess the token of Baron of the Great Qian Empire. It was extremely difficult to get Baron status in the Great Qian Empire. Only talents with exceptional achievements could receive this honor. Also, Even though Baron was the lowest formal title for a man, he needed to be Cosmos stage or above. The position of a Baron from the Great Qian Empire was numerous times higher than a Cosmos stage martial warrior like him from a low-tier civilization, even though they were both at the Cosmos stage. One sentence and he wouldn't be able to raise his head. There was no point of comparison at all. How did this brat manage to get connected to someone of that status? Cloet was in disbelief and in a dilemma. He then remembered that Wang Ting only possessed the token. If he killed Wang Ting, the Baron from the Great Qian Empire probably wouldn't make things difficult for a Cosmos stage martial warrior like him. A dead person had no value. A Cosmos stage martial warrior would have a certain status and power. He would be hard to deal with. Cloet's face turned grim. Force surged around him, gathering on his blade. It formed a terrifying crimson blade glow. An appalling conscience exuded from the blade glow as it spread in space. Blade glow blossomed and flames roared. There seemed to be a giant beast bellowing in the sea of fire. This was a fire element blade skill ultima. This was the blade ultima of a Cosmos stage martial warrior. The blade glow shot out. Towering flames crashed toward Wang Ting. Wang Ting stared at the flames. He didn't expect his opponent to be so desperate, even daring to attack at this moment. Indeed, Cosmos stage martial warriors were all ruthless individuals. But he wasn't afraid. He had his ways of staying alive. It was impossible for his opponent to kill him. He didn't move and continued standing on the spot. Someone moved for him instead. Chimpy. A snort reverberated. A blade glow swept out within the fleet from the Great Qian Empire. It soared through the space and flew inches away from Wang Ting's head, colliding with the blade glow Cloet had released. The deafening explosion echoed in the space. The meteors around them were hit by the residual impact and shattered into dust. "Hey, be careful, you almost chopped my head off." Wang Ting touched his head as he shouted angrily in the direction of the Great Qian Empire's fleet. A figure was walking with a sword on his waist. He strolled over with a slovenly attitude and stopped not far away from Wang Ting within 3 steps. He sized up Wang Ting with interest. Wang Ting looked at him too. This was a young man with silver hair. He seemed to be around the same age as him, but Wang Ting knew that he must be older. When one reached the planetary stage and above, their lifespan would increase and the aging process would slow down. Sometimes, their appearance would be fixed at the time they progressed to another stage. Wang Ting had reached the planetary stage at a young age. He was still brimming with vitality. In the future, he could probably maintain his current appearance until he reached the end of his life. That was when he would start aging. Of course, if he advanced to the celestial stage or the cosmos stage, his lifespan would increase again and he could continue maintaining his youthful look. Besides being young, the silver-haired young man was also very handsome. Well, maybe just a little less handsome than Wang Ting. He gave off a frivolous, casual, and light-hearted feeling like a playboy. "What's your name?" The silver-haired young man sized up Wang Ting. Wang Ting felt that this fellow was asking on purpose. How could he not have heard him when he shouted loudly just now? Wang Ting didn't believe him. "My name is Nicholas Imyordad Wang Ting," he blinked as he replied. It wasn't this long just now, right?" The silver-haired young man glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. "It was an emergency so I shortened it," Wang Ting replied indifferently. "Di-chi." The silver-haired young man didn't dawdle over this issue. He didn't even notice the cheeky move Wang Ting made and just replied to him calmly with his own name. Then, he looked at the token in Wang Ting's hand. It was a square seal. This was the symbol of the Great Qian Empire's Baron. This was the reason why the silver-haired young man came out. Wang Ting and Cloet's life-or-death battle had nothing to do with him. He was just a spectator watching their fight. But things became different after the appearance of the square seal. After all, this was the token for their empire's barons. He couldn't ignore it. He was also extremely curious about this young man who came to their empire with this token. It wasn't just because he possessed it. He was curious about his ability. He could tell that Wang Ting was very young and was at the planetary stage. Yet he was a celestial realm divine spirit master. Round Ball could finally feel at ease after it saw this scene. Wang Teng was seriously daring. Where did he get the guts to charge out at a time like this? But his guts had helped them in the end. If not, they would have suffered tremendous losses. Wang Ting might feel fortunate, but Cloet wasn't in a good mood. He was filled with exasperation and anger like a volcano about to erupt. The anger in his heart almost spilled out. But he didn't dare to do anything. Or rather, he was afraid of the silver-haired young man, Di Chi. Cloet took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. He slowly opened his mouth and said, "Mr. I'm the guardian of the Milky Way of the Olent Federation. The person in front of you is a convict of the Olent Federation. Can you pass him to me?" He was sensible enough not to mention Di Chi's sudden reinforcement. Instead, he asked politely and put himself in an extremely low position to give Di Chi enough face. They were both Cosmos stage martial warriors, but he placed himself in a humble position. By right, Di Chi should feel good. However, the other party just smiled. "I'm sorry. This person has the Baron token. I can't hand him over to you." His tone was polite, but his words weren't. Cloet cursed in his heart. "Deep breath, take a deep breath." He gave a forced smile and said, "You can take the token and give me the person." "I can't. He has the token. I need to bring him back to the Empire." Di Chi maintained his smile and replied calmly, "You." Cloet felt like punching him when he saw the smile on Di Chi's face. But he knew he couldn't. He might not be able to beat him anyway. "I don't mind flexing my muscles if you want to fight with me," Di Chi replied. "Don't worry, I won't pressure you with the Great Qian Empire." Cloet's anger was doused immediately. Won't pressure him with the Great Qian Empire? This silver-haired young man is evil. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 904. Wang Teng gave Di Chi a strange look. This fellow was also quite cheeky. He made a threat sound so refreshing. What a unique way of doing it. "Don't look at me like that. I mean what I say. I won't pressurize you with the Great Qian Empire," Di Chi explained when he saw everyone's expression. What was the size of the psychological trauma Cloet was experiencing? He had lost all hope. He couldn't afford to provoke the Great Qian Empire. He didn't believe the silver-haired young man when he said that he wouldn't use the Empire's name to pressure him. He had heard a rumor in the past. A Heaven Stage martial warrior went to chase his enemy, but he escaped to the Great Qian Empire. The enemy gave another Heaven Stage martial warrior from the Great Qian Empire a piece of treasure and sought refuge under his wings. The martial warrior from the Great Qian Empire agreed to his request, but the other Heaven Stage martial warrior didn't want to give up. He decided to challenge the Heaven Stage martial warrior from the Great Qian Empire. The result was predictable. The Heaven Stage martial warrior was tragically defeated. It wasn't because the Heaven Stage martial warrior from the Great Qian Empire was more powerful. It was because he was a baron, so he activated a troop from the Great Qian Empire and gained the help of two other Heaven Stage martial warriors. They won in numbers, forcing the other party to admit defeat. He even had to apologize by offering much of his wealth before his life was spared. This situation was common in the universe. In the universe, you needed ability, status, and power. If even one was missing, you would have to lower your head and keep a low profile. Cloet didn't think that he would meet such an awkward situation when he was just chasing a martial warrior from an underdeveloped planet. What else could he do? He had to swallow his anger and admit defeat. He glared at Wang Ting as if he wanted to etch his face in his heart. He hated him to the bones. Wang Ting wasn't afraid though. He glared back at him without hiding the killing intent in his eyes. "Old man, we're not done yet. Remember what I said," Wang Ting said. He didn't have the ability now, so he needed the power of the Great Qian Empire to force his opponent to lower his head. This had nothing to do with his own strength. But he believed that after some time, he could rely on his own two hands to kill his enemy. Anger raged in Cloet's heart. The killing intent in his eyes ran havoc, but he remained silent. After a while, He snorted and left. His spacecraft was nearby. The cabin door opened, and he stepped in. Then, the spacecraft turned into a beam of light and disappeared into the vast universe. TSK, young man, you're a bold fellow. You dare to threaten a Cosmos stage martial warrior. Daichi gave Wang Ting a weird look. We're already arch-enemies. I have nothing to be afraid of, Wang Ting replied calmly. Aren't you afraid that he will get desperate and charge over to kill you? I won't help you again, Daichi replied indifferently. I have my way of protecting myself. Even if you don't help me, I'll be able to escape. I can hide and lay low for a while, Wang Ting said. He that is down needs fear no fall. Oh! Daichi looked at him curiously. Although he believed Wang Ting, he was curious about where he got his confidence from. However, he didn't probe further. Everyone had secrets. He was just more interested in Wang Ting. He chuckled and said, "Come with me." "What about my spacecraft?" asked Wang Ting. "Ask your intelligence to sail it over and park it in the dock for now," Daichi replied. Wang Ting nodded. He connected with Roundball and asked it to drive the spacecraft over. QYE-63. It's an antique. Daichi was surprised when he saw the spacecraft. Wang Ting was also astonished. Daichi recognized the model of this spacecraft. Mind you, it was over 1,000,000 years old. Who would remember it? I'm a spacecraft enthusiast. Are you willing to sell it to me? I can give you a fair price, Daichi said suddenly. He didn't know that this was what he was thinking. Wang Ting, you can't agree. Roundball got agitated and started screaming in Wang Ting's mind. Don't worry. Am I a money lover? Wang Ting rolled his eyes. You are. Roundball said firmly. He ignored Roundball. To prove his innocence, he turned and said to Daichi in a righteous tone, "An elder left this for me. I won't sell it. I can add money." Daichi was straightforward. 30 billion GQC. What do you think? How much? Wang Ting suspected that he had heard wrong. If Daichi wasn't beside him, he would raise his fingers to count. The sum was so huge that he couldn't calculate it mentally. He remembered that the materials needed to make this QYE-63 spacecraft cost 7.6 billion GQC. Thus, this spacecraft should be worth 30 billion, right? Roundball couldn't remain calm anymore. It shouted, "What? Hes willing to fork out 30 billion GQC? Is 30 billion a lot?" Wang Ting was puzzled. What do you know? This spacecraft is at most worth 20 billion. I didn't think that this Daichi is willing to spend 30 billion GQC on it. Oh my god, Hes an idiot. Roundball's eyes lit up. Are you saying that we should sell it? Wang Ting confirmed with uncertainty. Who was the one who didn't want to sell it at first? Why did you change your mind? Can you be firmer? So, shall we sell it? Wang Ting teased. Cough. Roundball coughed awkwardly. It sounded a little embarrassed as it said, "Why don't? You seem to be hesitating." Forget it. I don't like to snatch from others. Daichi thought that Wang Ting didn't plan to sell it since he had remained silent for a long time. He shook his head in pity. Not bad, you're able to resist the temptation of 30 billion GQC, Daichi complimented Wang Ting. My elder left it for me, so I can't sell it for money, Wang Ting said in a serious tone. You have your principles. Not bad. If you had sold it for 30 billion, I might have looked down on you. Daichi patted Wang Ting's shoulder and asked, Your elder is the one who asked you to bring this barren token to the Great Chen Empire, right? What's this elder's name? Daichi asked. Can I tell him? Wang Ting asked in his heart. Yes, Roundball replied. Nangong Yu. Wang Ting told Daichi the name. Him. I remember that he went to catch an escaped convict 1,000,000 years ago and never came back. The spiritual flame left in the Empire's barren tower was extinguished. It looks like he has died, Daichi exclaimed in surprise. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 905 You know him. Wang Ting was a little surprised when Di Qi spoke of Nangong Yu's identity. After all, Nangong Yu had been dead for more than 1,000,000 years. He assumed that not many people would remember him after all this time. So was Di Qi a history enthusiast? It's nothing. Only a few barons from the empire have disappeared for so many years. I would naturally remember them, Di Qi said. The two chatted as they entered the planet surrounded by the great Qian Empire's fleet. From their conversation, Wang Ting knew that this planet didn't have a name. It only had a code. Number 4 Defense Planet. Under Di Qi's directions, the QYE-63 spacecraft stopped at the planet's dock. This planet was a military fortress. Spacecraft couldn't fly around as they pleased. Without Di Qi's directions, foreign spacecraft that entered the planet's atmosphere would be bombarded by heavy weapons on the ground. Even a Cosmos-level spacecraft would be shot down. Even if it wasn't a military fortress, some important life planets had similar regulations as well. Spacecraft couldn't fly around there randomly either. Wang Ting noted this point down in his heart. This was common sense. It would be a disaster if he was shot down without knowing why. The port of the number 4 defense planet was extremely huge. A large number of spacecraft were densely parked in the port. They were all of different sizes and types. Some spacecraft were dozens of meters long and were generally owned by individuals. Others were thousands of meters, which were large transport ships. Wang Ting stood at the port and looked up at the gray sky. This planet was considered a life planet, but it had a harsh environment. Looking down from a high altitude, one could see that the entire planet was dark brown with few areas of green and blue. This meant that water and plants were rare here. The gravity of the number 4 defense planet was about 3 times that of Earth. After Wang Ting got used to it, he started moving about freely. After all, he was a planetary stage martial warrior. As long as the gravity was not too great, it had little effect on him. Seeing that Wang Ting was curious, Di Qi casually explained, "This planet's resources have been exhausted. On top of that, it is in the border zone. As a military fortress, it has suffered from a wide range of attacks which had destroyed its ecosystem. Most of the life here has withered, making it what it is today," he explained as he walked toward the port. Wang Ting quickly followed. "You still have wars?" Wang Ting seemed to have picked up something from the conversation and asked in surprise. "It's not strange. Every empire is engaged in wars to compete for resources. Furthermore, there are dark apparitions too. Do you know about the dark apparitions?" Di Qi mentioned. "Yeah, I do. Our planet has been invaded by dark apparitions." Wang Ting nodded. "Then you people are a miserable lot." Di Qi was a little surprised and said with sympathy. "It has been temporarily resolved." Wang Ting said. "Oh." Di Qi was even more surprised. "Your planet can deal with dark apparitions on its own? Your combat power is not weak. I'm the strongest warrior at the moment," Wang Ting said casually. Di Qi stopped and looked at Wang Ting. "So, you dealt with the dark apparitions?" Wang Ting didn't deny it. Di Qi didn't delve into the topic and brought Wang Ting out of the port. They then came to a fortress that was made of steel. They were surrounded by people soon. They were all dressed in the uniforms of the Great Qian Empire. When they encountered Di Qi, they would stop to salute and watch both of them leave. "You have a high status here?" Wang Ting asked curiously. "This fortress must have a Cosmos stage martial warrior guarding it at all times." "We are changed every 3 years. Now, I'm the head here." Di Qi smiled. While speaking, a group of young people walked over as if they were about to leave the fortress. These young people were wearing battle armor, and they were dressed differently from the Great Qian Empire soldiers. There was even a slight difference in their auras. They didn't look like soldiers, more like students. Wang Ting sensed a familiar feeling from them. "Master Di Qi." The group of young people approached and stopped before bowing respectfully at Di Qi. At the same time, their gazes landed on Wang Ting with curiosity. "Who is this young man?" "Master Di Qi is actually accompanying him personally." Di Qi nodded. He then looked at a particular girl and said helplessly, "Olivia, I see you. Stop hiding. Cousin. The girl came out of the group and stuck her tongue out at Di playfully. Cousin. Wang Ting looked back and forth between the girl and Di in amazement. These two don't look like cousins at all. And there seemed to be a huge age gap between them. What are you all up to? Di asked. We heard that celestial stage vampire dark apparitions have appeared nearby, so we wanted to hunt down a few of them to complete the Academy's mission. Hee hee. Olivia smiled. Celestial stage vampires. Di frowned and chastised. What a load of nonsense. Planetary stage brats like you hunting celestial stage vampires? You must be courting death. Ah, we have so many people here. With Clive leading us, dealing with a first-level celestial stage vampire wouldn't be a problem. Our evaluation for the semester would be the best if we killed a celestial stage dark apparition. People would be happy back at home too. Olivia ran up to Di and shook his arm. She was just like a little girl. Hearing her words, a brown-haired youth standing in front of the group lifted his chest and smiled in a reserved manner. Wang Ting saw that and was amused. He had experienced too many things and bore the fate of Earth on his shoulders, which affected his state of mind. It had been a long time since he saw such ambitions from young people like them. No, it's too dangerous. Di completely ignored Olivia's begging and shook his head. If something happened to you, Grandpa would skin me alive. Olivia grunted and shook off Di hand before glaring at him. You are just afraid of Grandpa. You are not worried about my safety at all. I know you, Di. Don't give me that. It's useless. No means no. Di ignored her and turned back to Wang Ting. Let's go. Ignore them. They are just mischievous. Excuse them. We were all young once. Wang Ting shook his head and smiled. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 906. Wang Ting didn't know that his random comment would cause the young people around him to frown. Olivia didn't want to let Di and Wang Ting go easily. She blocked their path and asked, Cousin, who's this handsome man? Aren't you going to introduce him? Olivia, stop fooling around. Wang Ting is my guest, Di replied impatiently. Guest? Olivia got more curious. Your guest looks young, but he sounds like an old man. Di had seen Wang Ting fighting with a Cosmos stage martial warrior, so he viewed him as a powerful martial warrior, not a young man. He didn't think that there was anything wrong with his words. However, Olivia and the young people didn't share his feelings. Wang Ting seemed to be their peer, yet he was speaking like an elder. They didn't like it. Haha. Wang Ting didn't get angry. Instead, he found it interesting and laughed. Why are you laughing? Clive frowned and asked. All of them came from famous families in the Great Chen planet. To them, even a normal Cosmos stage martial warrior didn't mean much. They were polite to Di because he was strong and belonged to an elite family. His status was higher than theirs. As for Wang Ting, they knew that he didn't have a noble background from his attire. The people in the universe were very particular about their attire. One could tell a person's status from his dressing. Wang Ting had kept his battle armor, so he was wearing the clothes he wore on Earth. It was easy to tell that he came from an underdeveloped area. Even if he was Di-Chi's guest, the young ones weren't afraid of offending him. Di-Chi was just about to open his mouth when Wang Ting spoke up first. I'm laughing because your actions are immature, but you're afraid someone will say it aloud. You. Clive was infuriated. The other young people glared at Wang Ting. Olivia's gaze shifted between Wang Ting and Di-Chi, trying to guess the former status. This man dared to provoke them even though he knew they had powerful backgrounds. He must have some strong support, right? But she was also triggered by Wang Ting's words. She hated it when others treated her like a child. Am I wrong? Wang Ting glanced at them. A mature person won't be angered by a joke. You all place too much emphasis on it. The bunch of young people didn't know what to say. Also, although you guys know how dangerous it is, You still plan to hunt for the dark apparitions who have higher cultivation than you because you want to perform in front of the ladies. Isn't this immature? Wang Ting asked again. I did the same thing when I was young, but this is extremely dangerous. Everyone's face turned black as he spoke. When you were young? How old are you now? Clive said unhappily. Oh, let me think. I'm not 20 yet. I can't remember. Wang Ting touched his chin and said. You are not even 20 years old. How bad is your memory? They are around the same age as you. Who gave you the courage to act as an elder? Olivia felt speechless. Daichi was at a loss of words too. He thought that Wang Ting was at least 40 years old. In the universe where everyone's lifespan was long, 40 was considered young. He didn't think this man was younger than 20. He was insanely young. He recalled Wang Ting's strength and immediately felt that his potential was greater than he had expected. Don't mind the details. Age doesn't mean anything. Wang Ting waved his hand nonchalantly. Seriously. Olivia choked on his shamelessness. She almost cursed at him. Cough. All right, Wang Ting, let me bring you to your lodging. Daichi interrupted their argument hurriedly. He felt that he would get a headache if he continued listening to the quarrel. All right. Wang Ting nodded in agreement. He left the young people and went off with Daichi. The young ones froze on the spot for a long time. There was an awkward silence. Where did this weirdo come from? Someone broke the silence and asked. No one replied to him. None of them knew Wang Ting. Olivia, are we still going to hunt the celestial stage dark apparition? Clive asked. No. My cousin gave his word. Do you think we can leave? Olivia gritted her teeth and barked. The other young people felt helpless, but they couldn't do anything. The entire planet was under Daichi's control. His words meant everything. They sighed and shook their heads before dispersing. Daichi led Wang Ting to the residential area behind the battle fortress. He found a room for him. 5 days later, the one-way teleportation array to the Great Chen planet will be activated. You can go to the Great Chen planet with others. For now, you can stay here, Daichi said. Wang Ting nodded to show that he understood. The one-way teleportation array couldn't be activated randomly. Every single activation required a large number of resources. Hence, it would only be activated when they gathered a certain number of people. Wang Ting was a rune master, so there was no need to explain this to him. I'm living in the block beside you. You can find me if you need anything or contact me through your wristwatch. Daichi lifted his wrist and operated his wristwatch. Let's add each other. Wang Ting had no reason to reject. He immediately exchanged his number with Daichi. He had snatched his wristwatch from an alien candidate, so it could be used in the universe. After all, these wristwatches were manufactured by the big companies in the universe. They could be used everywhere. This might be Wang Ting's first time entering the universe, but Roundball had helped to prepare many things for him, saving him much trouble. If not, he wouldn't know anything and would probably get laughed at by others. You can tour the planet for the next few days. I'll label the forbidden areas on your wristwatch. Take a look at them and don't enter these areas. Daichi turned around and left. As the guardian of the number 4 defense planet, he had many things to attend to. He personally welcomed Wang Ting because he had the Baron token. Of course, Wang Ting's potential was another reason. After arranging his lodging, he naturally had to leave. Wang Ting sent him off before walking into his temporary lodging. He sized up the extravagant interior and felt that Daichi was extremely thoughtful. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 907. Wang Ting sized up his room and sat down on his bed. This living space was luxurious. It seemed to be a different place entirely once you entered. It was bigger than it looked from the outside and was fully equipped with all sorts of facilities. There was a bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, a cultivation room, and many other facilities. Wang Ting didn't think that there would be such a nice place in the battle fortress. Were the nobles in this empire embezzling money to enjoy their lives? He made an evil speculation. However, this had nothing to do with him. This huge empire had been around for who knew how many million years. It was normal to have some corrupted officials. The empire wouldn't collapse so easily. The empire might be even more prosperous than he expected. After all, he was just a native of Earth. What he didn't know was, lodgings like this weren't common in the battle fortress. They were prepared for people with higher status. You could tell that Di Qi took special care of Wang Ting. Wang Ting, Di Qi must have a high status and position in the Great Qian Empire. You must maintain a good relationship with him so that you can better deal with Master Nangong's disciple when you reach the Great Qian planet. Round Ball noticed that there was no one around, so it floated out from the life energy stone and reminded Wang Ting with a stern face. "I know what to do." Wang Ting nodded with a sharp glint in his eyes. "Also, don't quarrel with those little fellows. Their families must be powerful. You have not reached the Great Qian planet yet. Don't make too many enemies," Round Ball persuaded him earnestly. He never realized that Round Ball was overcautious, indecisive, and feared the tough. It seemed to be afraid of everything in the Great Qian Empire. Round Ball continued nagging at Wang Ting, telling him what to be careful of when he reached the Great Qian planet. Wang Ting closed his eyes and focused on his attributes panel. He counted the gains he had received when he fought with that old man Cloet. Fire Element Blade Ultima times Scorching Beast * 500 Constellation Force, Fire, * 6500 Wind Element Sword Ultima times Wind Hell * 600 Constellation Force, Wind, * 3800 Wang Ting was elated when he saw the attribute bubbles. There were two kinds of Ultima, one of them a wind element. The wind element was a rarity. More so was its Ultima. Wang Ting remembered the sword skill Di Qi had used on Cloet. That move was extremely powerful. It managed to shatter Cloet's ultimate move. Di Qi must have executed this Wind Hell Ultima at that time. Wang Ting realized that he should re-examine his understanding of Di Qi's ability. This was a Cosmos stage martial warrior who possessed the wind force. He was a great talent. Wind Element Sword Ultima times Wind Hell, 300-500, second level, 600 points of Wind Hell Ultima allowed this attribute to rise directly to the second level. The 3,800 points of Constellation Wind Force was a sizable gain too. This was Constellation Force, not ordinary force. It saved Wang Ting much cultivation time. Wang Ting could tell that Cloet wasn't young. He was a significant figure, but he was nothing compared to Di Qi. He didn't look down on him. After all, he had gained many attributes from Cloet. Fire Element Blade Ultima times Scorching Beast, 200-500, second level, 500 points of Ultima also allowed the Fire Element Ultima to reach the second level. This Scorching Beast Blade Ultima was a powerful skill. Wang Ting accepted it happily. Besides this, Cloet also dropped a large amount of Constellation Fire Force. There were 6,500 points of it. This was because he had exerted all his power when he attacked Wang Ting. If not, he wouldn't drop so much. There was a cause and effect for everything. Wang Ting collected some interest first before taking his revenge. After counting his gains, he started cultivating. This experience allowed him to understand that his ability was nothing when placed on the huge universe stage. He mustn't relax. He needed to raise his strength whenever he had the time. Wang Ting continued cultivating. He didn't leave his room. Di Qi never appeared again, but he sent delicious food to Wang Ting when it was mealtime. These dishes were made from fresh vegetables and star beast meat imported from other planets. Di Qi was honestly thorough. Daytime on the number 4 defense planet was shorter than Earth's. There were only 8 hours of sunlight. The sky was completely dark now. Even during the day, the sky was a little gray. At night, it turned entirely pitch black. However, some areas in this battle fortress were still brightly lit like daytime. "We have a guest. Do you want to let the guest in?" A mechanical voice suddenly sounded in Wang Ting's room. "Who would find me here?" Wang Ting frowned and asked. "Haha, it's Olivia, the young lady you met in the day." Round Ball saw the guest through the surveillance image at the entrance. It sniggered. Why is she here? Wang Teng was puzzled. She probably thinks that you will feel cold at night and need someone to warm your bed. Round Ball looked like a pervert. Your words are a little dangerous. I want to stay away from you, Wang Teng said helplessly. I'm sorry, you're tied to me. Wang Teng felt that Round Ball was corrupted. Since he knew who the guest was, he asked the intelligence of the room to open the door. Olivia strolled in and sized up the surroundings. She was surprised. My cousin treats you well. I don't even have the right to stay in this building. You both must be true love. What a stupid and evil lady. Why are you here? Wang Ting took a deep breath. He reminded himself continuously not to mind her words. My cousin asked me to bring you around, Olivia said. Now? Wang Teng was surprised. What's wrong with this timing? The nightlife on the planet is just starting. Olivia rolled her eyes. Why are you acting like an old man when you're so young? I'm acting like an old man? Wang Teng pointed at himself. Young lady, you're looking down on me. Olivia remained silent. However, her gaze and expression showed that she was indeed looking down on Wang Ting. F***K, let me see what nightlife this stupid planet has. Lead the way. Wang Teng was furious. He jumped down from the bed and walked out. Olivia chuckled. A sly glint flashed past her eyes as she ran to the front and lead the way. This planet is extremely lively at night. There are many martial warriors who come to complete missions here. They will head out for their missions in the day and come back to the battle fortress to rest at night. They will also take this chance to relax and entertain themselves. This is encouraged by the higher authorities too, Olivia explained. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 908. This is a good lady. The higher authorities encourage it. Why? Wang Teng asked in surprise. It's not strange. There are many dark apparitions hiding on this planet. We light up the entire planet brightly in the night, so the dark apparitions will have nowhere to hide, Olivia explained. Wow! Wang Teng felt speechless. This method was extremely direct. He followed Olivia out of the residential area and noticed that she was right. Everywhere was brightly lit up and noises were apparent. It seemed lively. Fortunately, the buildings in the residential area were soundproof, so the people resting inside wouldn't get affected. Olivia went around the battle fortress with Wang Teng, turning here and there. They saw many martial warriors immersed in their own activities during their journey. The fortress was vibrant and buzzing. After some time, Wang Teng arrived at an empty field that looked like a school field. This was the most bustling place. There were many people gathered in the field, and the commotion was almost deafening. Wang Teng glanced over and saw more than 10 arenas erected in the empty field. There were martial warriors fighting in there. This is it. Wang Teng was disappointed. He thought that Olivia would bring him to some interesting places to play elegant games involving candles and whips. After all, these games were suitable to play at night. He didn't expect her to drag him to watch duels. There was nothing nice to see. You don't understand. Many talented martial warriors from the various academies in the Empire gather on this number 4 defense planet. They have duels in the evening. It's extremely interesting, Olivia replied angrily. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M. Wang Ting ignored her tantrum and released his spirit. He picked up the attribute bubbles scattered around silently. Although he didn't like it, he didn't mind picking up the attributes. Constellation Force, Fire, *600 Constellation Force, Fire, *600 Emperor Level Water Talent *150 Constellation Force, Earth, *500 Emperor Level Earth Talent *100 Planetary Realm Spirit *120 Constellation Force, Wind, *700 Emperor Level Wind Talent *150 Constellation Force, Metal, *1100. The attribute bubbles merged into Wang Ting's body, quietly raising his strength. Wang Ting suddenly felt that he should thank Olivia. If she didn't bring him out, He wouldn't be able to pick up all these free goodies. Her personality might be undesirable, but she was a good lady. A motherly smile appeared on his face. Olivia suddenly saw Wang Ting giving her a strange smile as if he had some plans up his sleeve. Wang Ting didn't notice the change in Olivia's face. He was immersed in his loot. His 5 basic force had a sizable gain. But they didn't achieve a breakthrough, so he wouldn't count them specifically. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M Wang Ting was pleasantly surprised at the wind force. He had just received some constellation wind force from Di, and here it appeared again. His wind force was still at the 13-star general stage. It hadn't advanced to the planetary stage yet. If he had the opportunity, Wang Ting hoped that it would break through soon. Unfortunately, no wind element scriptures were found. If not, he could try cultivating it. Besides the force attribute bubbles, Wang Ting also received some talent attributes, all at the Emperor level. Olivia was right. There were indeed many talented martial warriors here. The attribute bubbles were the best proof. Also, he collected several spirit and enlightenment attribute bubbles, but they were mostly at the planetary realm. There was no celestial realm spirit or enlightenment. Wang Ting shook his head. He felt that he was too greedy. There were all planetary stage and celestial stage martial warriors. How could there be celestial realm spirit and enlightenment? Not everyone was as gifted as him. He wasn't in a hurry to leave anymore. The attribute bubbles dropped by these martial warriors exceeded the effects of his own cultivation. Why should he cultivate? Wasn't picking attributes good enough? Olivia saw the bored-looking Wang Ting suddenly turn enthusiastic and walk forward. She didn't know what had happened, but she still followed him. Wang Ting walked toward the arena where he found the wind force attribute. The surroundings were packed with people. He could only push away the crowd as he inched his way in. Hey, why are you squeezing? Who's pushing me? Damn it. The person who shouted was a muscular alien martial warrior that looked like an ape. This was the ape race. They were a common sight in the universe. The ape-like martial warrior wanted to squeeze Wang Ting back, but he realized that the other party didn't move a single step even when he pushed him. Instead, he felt immense energy surging out of his body. In the end, he was the one who took another step back. The ape-like martial warrior's expression changed. He kept his large black hands apologetically and looked at Wang Ting in embarrassment. Wang Ting glanced at him for a second and continued walking through the crowd until he reached the arena. Olivia followed behind him with a meaningful look on her face. 2 martial warriors were dueling in the arena. One had green skin and was tall and skinny. He looked like an ugly spring onion that didn't look appetizing. The other martial warrior was a human. He held a sword and looked handsome and refined. There was a green force twirling around him. Obviously, he was the wind element martial warrior. Senior Yin Hai, Olivia said with shimmering eyes. Is your senior famous? Wang Ting asked. Of course. Senior Yin Hai is one of the top 1,000 talents in my academy. He reached the celestial stage before 50. What's more, has a wind element martial warrior. He has defeated many opponents with his raging gale skill, Olivia said in admiration. 1,000. Why do you need to be in the top 1,000 to be considered a talent? Wang Ting was curious. He asked, what school are you from? It's the best academy in the Great Chen planet, the Great Chen Academy, Olivia said proudly. Wang Ting nodded. He had heard Round Ball talking about it before. This was the best academy in the Great Chen Empire, many times better than the Saint Star Pagoda from the Olant Federation. All the instructors were at least Cosmos Stage martial warriors. Celestial Stage martial warriors didn't have the right. If it's the Great Chen Academy, the top 1,000 makes sense. After all, most of the top talents in the Great Chen Empire would choose to enter this academy. The competition must be great, and everyone there must be gifted. Wang Ting observed the duel while picking up the attribute bubbles. At this moment, a few figures squeezed over. It was the young people Wang Ting had met in the day. Olivia, why didn't you tell us that you've arrived? It took me a while to find you. Clive greeted Olivia. I just came, Olivia replied absent-mindedly. She continued staring at the duel in the arena. Clive didn't mind, or rather, he was used to it. But when he saw Wang Ting standing beside her, he frowned. Chapter 909. Reluctantly, Clive didn't have a good first impression of Wang Ting. He felt that this boy loved to put on an act. The worst thing was, he could do it better than him. Clive couldn't accept this. As an elite from a powerful Great Qian Empire family, he never lost to anyone when it came to putting on an act. Yet he got defeated by Wang Ting. It wasn't a big deal, but he was unhappy for an entire day. He didn't expect to see Wang Ting again when he came out to look for Olivia in the evening. To top it off, he was with her. This made him even more unhappy. Olivia was a beautiful lady and was as talented as him. They were childhood friends, so they had a strong relationship. Their families intended to make them a couple. As a man, he naturally felt uncomfortable when he saw Olivia hanging out with Wang Ting. Clive thought for a moment and came up with a plan. Olivia, why is he here? He asked Olivia first. My cousin asked me to bring him out, Olivia replied without turning around. Wang Ting heard their conversation, but he didn't look back at them. His gaze was fixed on the battle, completely disregarding them. Clive was quite powerful. He had reached the 6th level of the planetary stage while only 21 years old. He was talented. But to Wang Ting, someone like him wouldn't drop any good attribute bubbles. Thus, even though he sensed something amiss with his tone, he was too lazy to care about him. However, that didn't mean that the other party would let him go easily. Wang Ting was Di's guest. Clive didn't dare to do anything outrageous, but he probably wouldn't offend Di if he embarrassed Wang Ting a bit, right? Clive was a little furious because Wang Ting never looked back at him. However, he suppressed his emotions and walked toward him. He wanted to understand this person better. We met during the day. My name is Clive. What's yours? He opened his mouth first. Wang Ting. Wang Ting placed his hands behind his back and continued watching the duel intently. His tone was indifferent. He was enlightened by the way the wind element martial warrior used his wind force. This was a celestial stage martial warrior. His ability shouldn't be underestimated. Clive pouted uncontrollably when he saw his attitude. He continued asking, "Where are you from? You seem to have a good relationship with Master Di. Wang Ting knew that this fellow was trying to dig out his background. He thought for some time before giving Clive a meaningful smile. I hail from a remote planet. I have no background. It's not worth mentioning. Clive didn't believe him. How could he receive such treatment from Di if he came from a remote planet? Did he think he was 3 years old? You must be joking. Wang Ting shrugged. Although he had spoken the truth, no one believed him. Was it his fault? Brother Wang, are you interested in duels? Why don't you go up and try? I can help you find a compatible opponent, Clive smiled and said. Oh. Wang Ting's eyes lit up. He could guess that Clive had an ulterior motive. Now, he knew what it was. He wasn't worried though. Instead, he felt a little excited. He should get his attributes personally. He was wondering if he should find someone for a duel. He was unfamiliar with this planet, so it might be awkward if he suddenly asked someone to fight with him. It was great that someone was willing to help him. Sure, you can arrange it. Clive, you're a good man. Wang Ting patted Clive's shoulder and praised him with a smile. Clive, who was suddenly given the good man card, was stunned. What's wrong with this fellow? Why did he say that I'm a good man? Is there something wrong with his mind? Either way, he achieved his aim. He smiled and said, Brother Wang, why don't you tell me your ability so that I can arrange for a competitor at a similar stage? I can deal with anyone below the 3rd level celestial stage, Wang Ting replied casually. 3rd level celestial stage. Clive was shocked. Wang Ting was extremely young. If he could fight with martial warriors at the 3rd level celestial stage or lower, he could be considered extremely gifted. He was even more talented than Yin Hai. Olivia turned and glanced at Wang Ting uncontrollably when she heard his words. She seemed astounded and curious at the same time. She didn't know if he was boasting or if he honestly possessed such strength. He might be lying. But that suits me. Clive smiled. He wanted to embarrass Wang Ting, so he would find stronger opponents. Anyway, he was the one who said that he could deal with anyone below the third-level celestial stage. If he was tormented, it wouldn't be his fault. Don't fool around. My cousin will scold me if you get beaten, Olivia frowned and said. Wang Ting was exasperated. Don't worry, even if I got beaten, I won't let you carry the blame. I'll explain to your cousin. All right. Olivia nodded with ease. She gave him an I tried to persuade him but he didn't listen look. Silence. So insincere. She didn't show any sincerity at all. Wang Ting didn't know what to say. He turned around and ignored her. Clive started looking for opponents for him. He knew many people, and a few of them were at the celestial stage. They could satisfy Wang Ting's requirements. Sometime later, he came back with a brown-skinned young man who looked like a brown bear. The bear race was one of the many races in the universe. This is Senior Dale, a first-level celestial stage martial warrior. What do you think? Do you want to fight with him? Clive asked Wang Ting. Celestial stage first level? I'll accept it reluctantly. Wang Ting glanced at the bear race young man and nodded. Reluctantly? Dale squinted. He sized up Wang Ting and noticed that his aura wasn't powerful. He was at most at the planetary stage. He had agreed with Clive to fight with Wang Ting because he was offered some benefits. If not, he wouldn't have bothered with this planetary stage martial warrior. But his opponent was looking down on him. Your friend is quite arrogant. Dale scoffed. Senior Dale, this young friend is Master Di Chi's guest. He's extremely experienced, so, Clive didn't complete his sentence, but his meaning was clear. Wang Ting was arrogant. Are you unhappy? If you are, beat him up. We'll know what his strength is like after the duel. Dale was straightforward. Wang Ting ignored their conversation and continued looking at the duel on the stage. The fight was coming to an end. After a round of attacks, Yin Hai's sword managed to stop inches away from his opponent's throat. He won. Yin Hai's opponent walked down the arena dejectedly. However, Yin Hai continued to stand in place. He glanced around him and suddenly fixed his gaze on Wang Ting. Chapter 9-10, Ultima Bombarding. You want to have a duel? Yin Hai looked at Wang Ting and asked slowly. Everyone was stunned, their gazes fixed on Wang Ting. Yes. Wang Ting nodded. Then I shall be your opponent, Yin Hai responded. The spectators were astonished. Clive and Olivia stared at Yin Hai in shock. They never thought that he would challenge someone to a duel. And on top of that, he was challenging Wang Ting. What was Yin Hai thinking? Dale was also surprised. He looked at Yin Hai and then at Wang Ting. Yin Hai was much more famous than him. Although they were both first-level celestial stage martial warriors, he was much weaker compared to Yin Hai. He could rank amongst the top 1,000 of the Great Qian Academy, but he was unable to. That was the gap. Yin Hai had noticed Wang Ting because he had heard the conversation between Wang Ting and Clive's group. He was a little curious about this newcomer's strength. Despite being a planetary stage martial warrior, he claimed that he could defeat martial warriors below the third-level celestial stage. That was arrogant of him. Anyone who dared to say that was either bragging or was a genius among geniuses. If it was an ordinary martial warrior, he wouldn't have been bothered by it. He could have treated it as bragging. However, he couldn't see through Wang Ting. On the surface, he looked like he was just a planetary stage martial warrior. But for some reason, he felt that Wang Ting's strength was not as simple as it seemed. He was very confident as well. That confidence wasn't a bluff, and it was naturally revealed in his eyes. Yin Hai had seen that kind of confidence in many people. Those people were all amazing figures in Great Qian Academy. That was why he planned to have a duel with Wang Ting. If he was just bragging, he wouldn't waste much of his time. One blow would be enough. If Wang Ting really had that kind of strength, then he would be able to meet a good opponent tonight. For talented warriors like them, a good opponent was difficult to find. He yearned for a hearty fight. Who is he? Senior Yin Hai challenged him to a duel. I don't know. I've never seen him before. I don't think he is from the academy. Is he from another academy? Does anyone know him? He could use an introduction. Clive and Olivia brought him here. They should know each other. Everyone started discussing and was curious about Wang Teng's identity. I'm sorry. I just accepted someone else's duel. I'll have to fight him first. Wang Teng pointed to Dale after he was taken aback for a moment. Yin Hai immediately glanced at Dale, whose expression turned dark. This bastard must have done it on purpose. Yin Hai challenged you to a duel. Why are you bringing me into this? Do I really have to fight you? If Dale knew that Yin Hai was going to challenge Wang Teng, he would have kept quiet. It was awkward for him to be sandwiched between the two of them. Now that Yin Hai was giving him the death glare, Dale felt that if he snatched his opponent, Yin Hai might just fight him. At the same time, it would be embarrassing for him to withdraw from his duel. He couldn't open his mouth with so many people watching. Ha ha ha, at this moment, Clive laughed. Wang Ting, didn't you want to find a good opponent? Since Senior Yin Hai challenged you to a duel, you should go for it first. Don't miss such an opportunity. Worthy of being a part of an elite family. Dale's embarrassing situation was eased after Clive spoke. Wang Teng glanced at him without a care. He nodded at Yin Hai. If that's the case, I'll have a duel with you first. Hey, are you sure? Senior Yin Hai is really strong. Olivia grabbed Wang Teng hurriedly and whispered. It's okay. Wang Teng's body flashed as he broke away from her grip and appeared in the arena. Olivia stomped her feet. Come on. Wang Teng stood opposite Yin Hai with one hand behind him. His other hand was stretched out as he gestured towards his opponent. Olivia, does he wish to die faster? Clive was speechless as well. He had to admit that Wang Ting was much more shameless than him when it came to bluffing. Yin Hai held his sword and frowned. Although he didn't like Wang Ting's arrogant approach, he didn't waste any time. Force erupted from his body and formed green gusts of wind around him. Swoosh! A slight breeze sounded, and Yin Hai's body disappeared from his spot. He then appeared in front of Wang Ting the next moment. The wind force concentrated on the edge of his sword and formed a green sword glow as it slashed out. The wind howled and the sword conscious exploded. Wang Ting's eyes narrowed. He clenched his right fist and condensed his strength before blasting it out. Boom! Explosive sounds could be heard as his fist clashed against the sword conscious. Strength of Ultima. Yin Hai's expression changed as he felt an overwhelming power surging toward him. His sword glow disintegrated, and he had to withdraw to dodge the attack. Ultima, I knew you weren't that simple. He stared at Wang Teng and said. Again, Wang Teng took a step, and force erupted from his feet. It caused the entire arena to shake and cracks appeared on the ground. He darted toward Yin Hai at an extremely fast speed like an arrow. Wang Teng didn't use any weapons and attacked with his fists. Each punch came one after another with terrifying power. Yin Hai was solemn. He frantically swung his sword as it warded off the flurry of punches. Boom, boom, boom. The banging sounds continued to echo around the arena. The power was frightening. Even so, Yin Hai was still in a tough fight as he retreated step by step. He seemed to be unable to fend off the barrage of fists. Don't retreat. Why are you retreating? Fight me, Wang Teng shouted. Yin Hai's eyebrows twitched, and his heart was extremely aggrieved. He had never faced such a brutal opponent. He could only try to defend himself against him. The spectators below were all dazed. Yin Hai couldn't resist his attacks. Was Wang Teng so strong? Clive and Olivia looked at each other with disbelief in their eyes. They couldn't have imagined that Wang Ting was so strong. Not only that, Wang Ting displayed a strength of a planetary stage martial warrior. This meant that he was oppressing a first-level celestial stage martial warrior with the strength of a planetary stage warrior. That was a little scary. Not everyone could fight against someone of a higher stage. Only true talents and geniuses could do it. And Wang Ting's opponent Yin Hai was a talented martial warrior. This meant that Wang Ting's talent was frightening. Yin Hai was retreating step by step, almost reaching the edge of the arena. He then gritted his teeth, and the force within his body erupted. He didn't hold back anymore. "I have Ultima too," Yin Hai roared. He had never felt so aggrieved. It was simply unacceptable for him to be suppressed and overwhelmed by someone of a lower stage than him. Ultima times raging gale. The surging force formed bursts of violent winds as the sword glow condensed. It shattered the barrage of punches and slashed toward Wang Ting. Wang Ting narrowed his eyes as he stepped back. At the same time, a blue sword appeared in his hand. Swoosh! Constellation water force surged and formed into huge waves that rose behind him. It was like a tsunami. Ultima times 1,000 crashing ripples. As the third-level Ultima erupted, Wang Ting slashed with his sword. Boom, boom, boom. The huge waves swept out and met Yin Hai's terrifying attack. The two sword glows collided in the center. Force swept out from the point of contact and sent waves of energy sweeping out. The horrifying collision of the force shocked everyone below. Fut! Suddenly, there was a victor. A body flew out as blood spurted out from its mouth. It's Senior Yin Hai. Senior Yin Hai lost. Everyone saw who it was and exclaimed. Yin Hai stopped his body in midair and looked at Wang Ting in disbelief and shock. "You actually possess two Ultimas." "Only two." Wang Ting took a step and disappeared from his spot. Yin Hai was stunned. He already understood how powerful and persistent Wang Ting was. He was a troublesome foe. Seeing that he had disappeared, he quickly glanced around him with vigilance. Bang! At this moment, a muffled sound reverberated. Yin Hai's body froze on the ground. The back of his head was throbbing in pain, his eyes almost popping out. "Oh, this skull is really hard." Wang Ting's voice came from behind. "When?" A storm surged in his heart when Yin Hai heard his voice. Chapter 911, As expected of the talents of the Great Qian Empire. Outstanding indeed. Yin Hai didn't understand why Wang Ting's speed had suddenly increased. He didn't realize when he came behind him either, not detecting anything at all. As a wind element martial warrior, his speed was exceptional, and he was extremely sensitive to airwaves. Yet, Wang Ting managed to appear behind him without a sound. Before he could react, he was hit on the back of his head. He found it incredible. Yin Hai didn't know that Wang Ting had used his space talent. As his space physique got stronger, his grasp of space became smoother. He made use of hyperspace travel just now, but the spatial fluctuations produced were very faint. This was why Yin Hai didn't detect anything. It was a good skill to sneak an attack on others. Senior Yin Hai got hit. The people below exclaimed in surprise. They didn't dare to believe their eyes. Yin Hai was one of the top 1,000 talents in the Great Qian Academy. Yet, he got hit on the back of his head without having the time to react. If they didn't witness this personally, they would think that it was an illusion. Then, they saw the weapon in Wang Ting's hand. It was a gold brick. A brick. What kind of strange weapon was that? Everyone stared at the ordinary-looking golden brick. It was dazzling. Their minds were filled with question marks. Yin Hai didn't notice their weird expressions. He bore with the excruciating pain in his head and executed his footwork. Wind force raged around him. He seemed to have turned into a gale as his speed increased 2 times, vanishing on the spot. This was how quick a man who possessed wind force could be. Wang Ting smiled. He disappeared too. Yin Hai stopped at another corner of the arena. He stared intently at the spot where Wang Ting was at. There, a lingering shadow was gradually dissipating. Gasp! Yin Hai was flabbergasted. He immediately felt a chill run up his spine. His head turned numb. Then, bang! Before he could react, the dull thud echoed in the air once again. It sounded distant and mesmerizing. My foot. Yin Hai's head was spinning. His vision turned black, and he stumbled. He felt bad after receiving 2 blows on his head. Enduring the dizziness, he tried to escape again. He realized that this duel had slowly gotten out of control. Should he admit defeat? This word would never appear easily in his dictionary. Thus, an eerie sight appeared in the arena. Yin Hai started shuttling back and forth while Wang Ting stuck to him like a spirit. There was no way of escaping him. Bang, 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 the dull thuds kept ringing. 3 hits. 4. 5. Yin Hai was in a daze. Why did this happen? He had never experienced getting tortured so terribly by someone much lower in ability. He started to pity himself. In the end, Yin Hai had to succumb and collapse. He was a human. No matter how powerful he was, he couldn't withstand multiple heavy blows. There were many bumps on his head. They were extremely conspicuous. There was dead silence in the spectators' stand. Senior Yin Hai lost. I think so. He lost terribly. Be confident. He lost, and it was a terrible defeat. Can anyone tell me where that vicious young man in the arena comes from? He's ruthless. I admit that he's a devil. A huge commotion erupted. At the same time, Olivia didn't know what expression she should give when she looked at the senior Yin Hai she once admired. The corners of her mouth twitched uncontrollably. Clive felt his head hurt. He realized that he had severely underestimated Wang Ting. This fellow did have the power to fight with third-level celestial stage martial warriors. Even Yin Hai wasn't his match. No matter who he sent, they would only lose. As for Dale, Clive glanced at him and had his answer. He saw the other party rubbing his big head. Surprisingly, there was fear on his face. Dale didn't care how Clive was looking at him. I have a stomach ache. I'm leaving. He left without waiting for Clive's reply. Clive, he just left. Olivia was speechless. What else can he do? Asked Clive in frustration. Don't mess with him. He's not someone easy to bully. Olivia glanced at him from the corner of her eyes. She knew what Clive wanted to do a long time ago. However, Wang Ting didn't listen to her persuasion, so she couldn't stop him. Reality proved that Wang Ting wasn't a country bumpkin. He did possess the ability, and he was scheming too. Look at the state senior Yin Hai was in. Clive felt even more exasperated after Olivia's words. He shook his head and said, I have no other suitable candidates either. Anyone below the third-level celestial stage will just be tormented by him. As for those above this level, he probably won't agree to fight. This fellow is cautious. He gave me a limit right at the start. Looks like you met your match. Olivia chuckled when she saw his helpless look. Young people like them who came from elite families wore their emotions on their sleeves. Olivia could read Clive's thoughts. He did this in the past too. She didn't stop him because this was a sort of competition too. You would never know who was more powerful without a duel. Clive snorted. He kept quiet and went to fume silently at the side. Wang Ting picked up his brick amid everyone's stunned gaze and lamented. As expected of the talents of the great Qian Empire. Outstanding indeed. Everyone heard him. Everyone, outstanding? They didn't know if the other talents of the Empire were outstanding, but they were sure that Senior Yin Hai didn't want to stand out this way. This fellow seemed quite evil. He beat his opponent into a pig's head and said that he was outstanding. Where's your face? Wang Ting sighed and glanced at the attribute bubbles dropped around him. He picked them up quickly. After putting in so much effort to get them, they mustn't go to waste. Planetary Realm Enlightenment * 800 Planetary Realm Spirit * 650 Constellation Force, Wind * 3000 Raging Gale Ultima * 300 Raging Gale Scripture * 150 Wang Ting's eyes lit up when he saw the attribute bubbles. When converted to Celestial Realm Spirit and Enlightenment, he had 65 points of Spirit and 80 points of Enlightenment. He gained 3000 points of Constellation Wind Force. This was his second bit of wealth after gaining 3,800 points of Constellation Wind Force from Di Chi. This saved him much hard work. Chapter 9:12, Unregistered Resident of the Virtual Universe. The last two attribute bubbles were the main dish. One was an Ultima while the other was a Scripture. They merged into Wang Ting's mind and turned into his memory. Gale Ultima. An image appeared in Wang Ting's mind. This was a vast and endless field. A lonely figure walked further and further into the field. A gale gathered around him, wreaking havoc in the sky and the ground as it blew against the figure. The figure walked for a long time. As time passed, the gale around him got stronger and bigger. Finally, he drew his sword and slashed it at the sky. The gale turned into a terrifying blade glow. The force seemed powerful enough to sunder the earth and the field. This was the raging gale. A queer green sword glow flashed in Wang Ting's eyes as if a gale had blown past it. It disappeared in a split second. This raging gale Ultima was different from the wind hell Ultima he received in the past. The raging gale Ultima was a pure wind element Ultima, while the wind hell Ultima combined killing intent and the wind element. It was extremely strong. The wind hell Ultima was definitely more powerful. But this didn't mean that the raging gale Ultima wasn't. An Ultima was still an Ultima. Yin Hai relied on this to enter the top 1000 in the Great Qian Academy. Wang Ting felt that he had no right to look down on this Ultima. After all, he had picked it up without much effort. Then, there was the wind element scripture. Raging gale scripture. As the attribute bubble entered his body, the outline of a person appeared in his mind. This person sat cross-legged on the ground and was practicing a scripture. Wang Ting gradually comprehended the raging gale scripture. He finally received a wind element scripture. Wang Ting almost cried in joy. What a tough journey. It was worth enduring the pain of throwing away his conscience and hitting an innocent young man who had no grudges with him. He didn't want to do it. Wang Ting repented in his heart. He would compensate him if he had the chance in the future. Really, believe me. I'll compensate you. Wang Ting promised silently as he stared at the unconscious Yin Hai. Then, he walked down the arena without looking back. Hey, where's the brown bear? Wang Ting wanted to find another person to get attributes, but he realized that the person was gone. He got a stomach ache and left. Clive gave an awkward but reserved smile. Wang Ting gave him a meaningful look. He felt that things weren't so simple. The smile on Clive's face got even more awkward. He couldn't hide his emotions anymore. He was fuming in his heart. F***K, I'm not the one who ran away. Why am I being awkward? Wang Ting didn't probe further. He decided to go to the other arenas to pick up some attribute bubbles. He was done with this place. He should change the venue. Olivia ran after him and sized him up curiously. How powerful are you? Can you tell me? Clive also leaned over slightly, awaiting the answer. Why? Are you going to find someone to beat me up? Wang Ting smiled. Olivia didn't expect him to be so direct. She was stunned for a moment before she pouted. TSK, what grudges do I have with you? Why would I want to beat you up? Why are you asking then? Wang Ting gave her a meaningful gaze. Can't I be curious? Olivia rolled her eyes. Wang Ting smiled, not replying to her. After some time, Olivia couldn't help asking again, why did you use a brick as your weapon? Is it because you have an antisocial personality disorder and want to use this method to take revenge on society? What the? Wang Ting almost cursed. You're the one with the disorder. Your entire family is mentally ill. Wang Ting took a deep breath before he calmed down. He glared at Olivia. Silence means consent. Olivia wasn't afraid. She sniggered. Wang Ting found this lady a little irritating. Hey, don't be so boring. Can you say something? What's your relationship with my cousin? How did you two meet? Olivia's mouth never stopped while Wang Ting was watching the jewels. She kept buzzing as if there were a bunch of bees around him. Wang Ting picked up attributes the entire night. The harvest was great. It was the reason why he put up with Olivia's nonsense. He counted his gains when he went back to his room. Most of the gains were forces. If he went to pick another round of attributes tomorrow, his forces might rise by a small level. Wang Ting smiled and sat cross-legged on his bed. He decided to practice the raging gale scripture. When he received this wind element scripture, he was eager to practice it. He wanted his wind force to reach the planetary stage as soon as possible. Wang Ting, wait. Round Ball's voice came abruptly. What's the matter? Do you remember virtual reality? Round ball appeared in front of him. Virtual reality? Wang Teng was stunned. Of course. He had gained many benefits from virtual reality. You could collect attribute bubbles inside. He would never forget about it. However, Earth's virtual reality was an empty shell. It wasn't linked to the universe network. Thus, there was nothing besides some basic facilities and the star beasts that already existed inside. Even so, Wang Teng managed to gain many attributes. He knew how awesome virtual reality was. If he could connect to the universe network now, how would things change? Wang Teng suddenly got excited. Actually, virtual reality is also known as the virtual universe. It's almost like a real universe, Round Ball said. Virtual universe? Wang Teng was surprised. That sounds ambitious. Haha, you'll know once you enter. Round Ball chuckled. What are we waiting for? Wang Teng was extremely curious about the virtual universe. He urged Round Ball hurriedly. Don't worry. I've just said that the virtual universe is like a real universe, so it's no different from a real universe. Everyone that enters needs an identity. If you want to open a residence in the virtual universe, you need to possess an identity in the real world, so, Round Ball explained. So what? Wang Ting's face turned black. Round Ball spoke for so long, but he couldn't enter. He needed a real universe Huku, household registration. After you reach the Great Chen planet in a few days, you can get your Huku. As for now, I can try to smuggle you in, Round Ball smiled and replied. Smuggle me in? Wang Ting was shocked. To put it plainly, you are an unregistered resident. That way, things would be easier, Round Ball explained. But you need to wait. I'm still trying. Alright, I'll wait. Wang Ting sighed. He had to control his impatience. The next day, when Wang Teng was cultivating, Yin Hai came to find him. He wasn't convinced. His head was swollen up, and he was greatly humiliated. He wanted to find some of his dignity back from Wang Ting. Thus, he wanted to continue challenging him. He had analyzed yesterday's battle carefully and felt that he lost because of Wang Teng's ghost-like footwork. Now that he was prepared, he would be able to resist, unlike how helpless he was yesterday. Wang Ting's cultivation level was lower than his. He didn't believe that he would lose to him terribly. This was his last ounce of dignity as a talented martial warrior. Naturally, Wang Ting wouldn't reject him. He agreed politely. The other party came to find him personally. How could he reject the offer? No way. If not, he would get angry. Anyway, he could get some attribute bubbles out of him. It wasn't a problem. He could just hit gentler this time. Thus, Yin Hai got defeated again. His outstanding fame started spreading. On the third day, Yin Hai came to look for him again and got beaten up again. Wang Ting had a fruitful time. In the day, he would cultivate. At night, he would go out to pick attribute bubbles and have a duel with Yin Hai to build their relationship. 3 days later, after working very hard, Wang Ting managed to raise his 5 basic forces by a small level. His metal force had reached the 8th level while his fire and earth forces were at the 7th level. His wood and water forces were at the 6th level. The increase in the levels allowed his ability to rise too. Yin Hai had no chance at all. Unfortunately, he didn't know this and continued to challenge Wang Ting diligently. Wang Ting admired his perseverance. However, he felt that this person wasn't very smart. He was a little stubborn too. Despite knowing that he couldn't win, he still came. Was he addicted to getting hit? Chapter 9:13. I'm just a child who's a few million years old. He didn't know if Yin Hai was addicted, but he was hooked on torturing him. There was a talent who was willing to get beaten up without asking for money. What a good deal. But on the 4th night, Wang Teng rejected Yin Hai's outrageous request. He decided not to leave his room today. He had an exciting thing planned out. Round Ball had found a way to enter the virtual universe. Wang Teng wouldn't find it interesting if he entered the normal way. They were going to smuggle themselves in this time. The name Round Ball assigned to this mission was descriptive too. Are you ready? In the room, Round Ball asked Wang Ting in a stern but excited voice. Wang Ting was already prepared, but when he saw Round Ball's expression, he suddenly felt that it was a little unreliable and felt scared for no reason. He confirmed once again, "Are you sure it'll be all right? You don't believe me?" Round Ball's anger was sparked like a cat that got stepped on its tail. It glared at Wang Ting. "No way. I just want to confirm." Wang Ting's gaze flickered as he rubbed his nose. Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com. If I say it's alright, it will be alright. I'm an intelligent life form. This plan has been in action since I followed Master Nangong. I've studied it for many years and finally found a loophole. If you receive your Huku, your spirit will be marked, and I can't put my plan into action anymore, Round Ball explained. No wonder you're so impatient. You're just afraid that you can't carry out your plan after I get my Huku from the Great Chen planet, Wang Ting rebuked. Round Ball glanced at him with guilt. I'm doing this for you. You don't understand how important the virtual universe is. If you get in successfully, you will have an unregistered identity. When you get your Huku, you will have two identities, one registered and one unregistered. You will have the convenience to do whatever you like. Don't you think so? Wang Ting touched his chin. That sounds good. Round Ball was elated. But Wang Ting suddenly looked at it. But what? Round Ball straightened its back, feeling a little agitated. What's the success rate? You have to tell me first, right? Wang Ting probed. About 60% to 70%. Round Ball looked up. How much? Wang Ting suddenly raised his voice. 60%. How much? Wang Ting placed his hand on his ear, pretending that he didn't hear properly. 55%. Round Ball felt guilty. It didn't dare to look at Wang Ting. What? How much? I can't hear you. Wang Ting's voice got 3 times louder. 50%. That's the lowest. Round Ball was infuriated. It jumped up and looked at him straight in the eye. Wang Ting sighed. You're indeed unreliable. It must be less than 40%, right? How can you ask me to try? How am I unreliable? I'm an intelligent life form. Why are you calling me unreliable? Round Ball was furious. Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com because you're Round Ball. Wang Ting sneered. Round Ball glared at Wang Ting for a while before lowering its head. It softened its tone and said, I've prepared for so long, so please give it a try. Please. Take pity on me. It placed its hands together and stared at Wang Ting with shimmering eyes. It started acting cute. Acting cute is forbidden. To think that you have lived for a few million years. Wang Ting glanced at it contemptuously from the corner of his eyes. I'm just a child who's a few million years old. Round Ball shook its body and said. Go away. Wang Ting pretended to vomit. He said sternly, be honest and tell me how confident you are. Cough. 30%. Round Ball coughed and replied awkwardly. Seriously. Wang Ting rolled his eyes. He knew that the chances were low, but he didn't think that they would only be 30%. However, this wasn't the time to care about this issue. He was tied to Round Ball. Its smuggling plan might be imperfect, but it would definitely benefit him. It made sense to take some risk. What if we're discovered? Wang Ting asked. Your spirit will be destroyed, Round Ball said grimly. Wang Ting gritted his teeth. I feel like strangling you. Don't be angry. I wanted to ask you to divide a part of your spirit to enter the virtual universe. That way, even if you are discovered, you won't be in life danger. You will just get injured. Spiritual segregation? Wang Ting was puzzled. That sounds all right. Of course. Some martial warriors do this too. When their spirit enters the virtual universe, the main part of their spirit is still in their body. That way, no accidents can happen, Round Ball explained. Wang Ting nodded his head as he contemplated. Really? You should feel at ease now, right? But will I be marked if my spirit is discovered when I enter the virtual universe? Will I be banned? Wang Ting still had some concerns. He should ask clearly before entering in case he got tricked by Round Ball again. Don't worry, if you're discovered, It'll cut off your spirit. The virtual universe won't have the chance to mark you, Round Ball comforted him. Wang Ting nodded. Pondering for some time, he felt this matter was still dangerous. One mistake and there would be severe consequences. But it was tempting, so he still agreed in the end. Can I use my clone? Wang Ting asked. I forgot that you have a clone skill. That skill is unique, so it might be able to confuse the virtual world. This is a better method than spiritual segregation. We can conceal your identity with it. Round Ball's eyes lit up. Wang Ting immediately executed his cloning skill. A part of his spirit and force congregated into his clone and appeared in front of Round Ball. Fortunately, his spirit had reached the celestial realm, so he had the ability to split a part of his spirit to enter the universe. Many people didn't have a powerful spirit. They had to enter the virtual universe with their main spirit. Spiritual segregation wasn't a method anyone could use. Ha ha ha, we're starting. Round Ball was thrilled. It lifted its finger and tapped on the clone's forehead. Wang Ting was spiritually connected to his clone. He felt the clone's spirit entering a patch of darkness. Nothing could be seen, and he seemed to have lost all his senses. If he wasn't prepared, he would have panicked when he saw this darkness. Wang Ting didn't know how much time had passed. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in front of him. As the light dazzled his eyes, Wang Ting realized that he had appeared in a city that looked like a science fiction movie. Chapter 9:14, Paradise at Home. Skyscrapers that were hundreds and thousands of meters tall rose from the ground. They were all of different shapes and sizes. Some looked normal with their rectangular shapes, nothing unusual. But others were extremely strange and even violated basic architectural principles. It was almost impossible for them to exist in reality. The ground was clean and tidy. Not a speck of dust could be found, and pedestrians could even see their reflections. There were a lot of people of different races walking on the streets. They had unusual appearances and different heights. Some were of similar builds as regular humans, while others were up to 6 meters tall. There were some who were half the size of an adult. You couldn't see them unless you lowered your head. At the center where the streets converged, there was a wide square. And in such an environment, Wang Ting appeared abruptly here. The crowd around him glanced at him indifferently. When they didn't find anything special about him, they stopped paying attention. This is the virtual universe. Wang Ting looked around curiously with surprise in his eyes. This was vastly different from the virtual reality that he had once entered. Back then, the cities in virtual reality were empty, and you couldn't see anyone. But here, it was crowded with people and full of life and excitement. It was bustling. Just like the real world. How is it? I didn't lie to you, right? Isn't this amazing? Round Ball's prideful voice sounded in Wang Ting's mind. Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com. I didn't expect you to actually succeed. Wang Ting communicated with Round Ball as he observed his surroundings. He realized that people were followed by small figures of different appearances. Some looked like tiny beasts while some were little people with wings. There were even plants with human faces, which could speak. It seemed magical. Of course. In an intelligent life form. Round Ball's nose was almost pointing up at the sky. It followed Wang Ting's gaze and began introducing, these are intelligent fairies. They can assist their masters in the virtual universe. However, they also have different grades. You probably won't be able to find intelligent life forms like me. Wang Ting rolled his eyes when Round Ball started to brag and boast. It was too narcissistic. Where are we now? We have connected to the virtual universe from the Great Qian Empire's territory. Hence, we are on the Great Qian mainland. Great Qian mainland. Wang Ting blinked. That's right. Great Qian mainland. It's an extremely vast land. The Great Qian Empire is a high-tier civilization with vast and boundless territory spanning thousands of galaxies and countless planets. At every moment, people from countless races enter the virtual universe, which is why Great Qian Empire's territory in the virtual universe is huge. Although it is called the mainland, It is actually much bigger than the area of several planets combined. Unbelievable. Wang Ting was amazed. Let me introduce you to the virtual universe. Over here, as long as you have the money, you can enjoy everything. Duels, learning, trade, finance. Round Ball rambled on. The universe is too vast and the distance between planets is huge. It's very difficult for friends to meet. However, in the virtual universe, this distance is shortened. You can communicate with your friends and even directly teleport to them. It is very convenient. And you can even meet like-minded martial warriors and spar with them, increasing your social links. Besides that, you can also trade and do financial transactions in the virtual universe. Here, your bank card is bound to your identity, which is why you can execute financial transactions and buy whatever you want from across countless galaxies. On top of that, there are various forms of entertainment such as ladies, food, and games. Wait, ladies are considered as entertainment? Wang Teng was surprised. Well, there are so many races in this universe, and females from each race have their own flair. Wouldn't men like you want to experience it for themselves? Ahem. Wang Ting was trying to display that he was a gentleman. Women were just vixens. Round Ball smiled mischievously and continued, in short, there's everything here. Eating, drinking, and playing. Many people get immersed in this, treating this place as the real world. A century would pass for these people in the blink of an eye. What? This is a virtual world after all. There are people who have been immersed in it for 100 years. Wang Teng found it hard to believe. Please keep reading on myb0x novel.com. It wasn't a few months or years. It was a whole century. There were people who did something like this. Try and you will know. Round Ball smiled. I've said it before. The virtual universe is no different from the real world. It is not impossible for someone to treat it as their reality. It's not necessarily a good thing for it to be too real. Wang Teng exclaimed. He couldn't help but think of the Otakus back on Earth. They would stay in their homes for several years, and some would even stay indoors for 10 or 20 years as they were obsessed with their games. Now that he thought about it, the virtual universe was similar to that. Furthermore, the virtual universe was much more realistic compared to the games on Earth. Once the Otakus experienced this, they would be reluctant to get out. They might probably stay there till they died. To them, this was their paradise at home. Wang Teng had a strange thought. However, powerful people have strong wills and wouldn't be addicted to the virtual universe. They treat it as their social and communication platform to provide convenience for themselves. And if they are too poor, they wouldn't be able to stay here for a century. After all, everything in this world costs money. Round Ball rubbed its fingers. This is really, very realistic. Wang Teng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Well, of course. Otherwise, the virtual universe wouldn't be so easy to enter. Round Ball's tone changed. Nonetheless, it still has lots of benefits. You can do things like dueling with others and fighting star beasts. Although you can't increase the level of your realm or stages, you can improve your battle experience and you won't die. I've tried this before, and it's indeed useful. Wang Teng nodded. The one you tried previously is just a broken version. It can't even be compared with the present one at all. Experience it yourself and you will know, Round Ball said with disdain. I shall try then. Wang Teng walked out of the square with excitement. I'll go out of the city. Wait. I think you need to get yourself some money before you do that. Round Ball stopped him hurriedly and said, look at yourself. Ah. What's this? Wang Ting lowered his head and was stunned. What happened to my clothes? He realized that he no longer had his real-world clothes. Instead, he was wearing a plain and simple grey training attire. He didn't even have a weapon on him. He looked like a poor man. Everyone who enters the virtual universe appears like this. If you want better items, you will have to buy them. Round Ball smirked. Damn it. This is so pitiful. Wang Teng cursed. This virtual universe is all about money. It's as shameless as those unscrupulous game companies. Is it shameless for them to earn money? Round Ball asked. Wang Teng realized that he couldn't refute it and accepted this cruel reality. He took a deep breath and asked humbly, "Where should I go to get money? Have you seen the shops on the street? You can just go to a store and trade if you want to sell anything." Wang Teng glanced around and saw shops scattered around the square. If he listened carefully, he could hear faint shouts coming from the crowd. "We're buying rat skins for fair and honest prices. Take a look, take a look. We sell all kinds of rune weapons. Don't miss this. We buy all kinds of ores, star cores, star bones, and rare treasures. Prices are negotiable. If you're interested, please come over to Thousand Treasure Chamber." "Why does it seem like a marketplace?" Wang Teng muttered as he walked towards the shop. "Hehe, the competition is fierce." Round Ball smiled. Wang Ting's target was the Thousand Treasure Chamber. He had many star cores and star bones to sell for some money. Once it was so tough to be poor. Chapter 9:15, The Universe Bank. The Thousand Treasure Chamber had franchises littered all over the universe. There were outlets in the various civilizations, and their foundation was extremely strong. A large company would definitely take extra care of their reputation. Hence, one didn't need to worry about them cheating their clients. Round Ball introduced the place to Wang Teng as he walked. After some time, he found the Thousand Treasure Chamber. This was a huge silver-white metallic building. It was easily recognizable. Wang Teng entered the building and realized that this chamber looked similar to shopping malls on Earth. There were different areas in the building with all sorts of items on display, including battle uniforms, weapons, spiritual herbs, ores, etc. There were even spiritual pets and robots. There weren't many of them, and they were mostly on display. The real menu was screened in the air using holograms. They were lifelike and clear. Wang Ting sized up his surroundings curiously. He was dazzled. There was an array of items. He didn't know where to look. "What do you think? It's not bad, right?" Round Ball chuckled. "Not bad." Wang Ting nodded calmly. "Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com." At this moment, an attendant from a shop saw Wang Teng and welcomed him passionately. "Dear customer, do you need any help?" "I want to sell items," Wang Teng replied. "What will you like to sell?" The attendant seemed used to this reply. Wang Teng was wearing the basic attire of the virtual universe. Most people who came into the building with this attire came to sell items in exchange for virtual coins. "Some ores, star cores, and star bones. Please follow me." The attendant's eyes lit up. He raised his hand and led the way. Soon, they arrived at a guest room. "My manager will attend to you personally. Please wait here." The attendant left after bringing him in. A few moments later, a short and small middle-aged man who looked like a goblin walked in. "I'm a manager of the Thousand Treasure Chamber. I heard that you want to sell ores, star cores, and star bones." "Yes." Wang Teng nodded. As he spoke, the middle-aged man had already invited him to sit down and served him some tea. Wang Ting lifted the teacup and sized up the manager secretly. He realized that this man was a celestial stage martial warrior and was at the 6th or 7th level. He mustn't be underestimated. The virtual universe was extremely real. It was no different from reality. Wang Ting finally understood this feeling. "Why don't you take out your items so that I can look at them?" The middle-aged smiled. This was how amazing the virtual universe was. These items were available in the real world and shouldn't exist in the virtual universe. But with a single thought, ores, star cores, and star bones appeared on the table in front of Wang Teng. They looked exactly like the real thing. This was the benefit of conducting business in the virtual universe. All the items and figures were virtual. There was no dog-eat-dog situation here. The virtual universe was fair. All transactions would be handled with contract spirit. Wang Ting had collected many items when he was on Earth. He took all of them out. The ores, star cores, and star bones piled up into a small hill. The middle-aged was stunned. But he was an experienced manager, so he regained his composure quickly. He observed the items and announced their prices one by one. Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com. Roundball was listening too. It knew the worth of these items. Wang Teng wasn't afraid that the other party would cheat him. I can give you 8,000 GQC for all these items. The middle-aged man put down the last star bone in his hand and looked up at Wang Teng. Only 8,000? Wang Teng frowned slightly as he murmured in his heart. It felt quite little. Think about it, none of the star cores or star bones have reached the Emperor level. The ores aren't precious either. 8,000 is a good price. Don't forget that it's GQC. It's worth more, Round Ball replied angrily. Oh, right. Wang Teng smiled awkwardly. Is the price okay? You can ask for 8,500 GQC, Round Ball said directly. Wang Teng shook his head and said to the middle-aged man, 8,500 GQC. I'll sell them to other shops if you can't give me this price. I'm not in a hurry to sell. It looks like you understand the market. You are pushing down the profit, you know. The middle-aged man gave a bitter smile. In that case, let's deal at 8,500. We'll earn a little lesser and take this as a chance to build a better relationship with you. Actually, I won't have agreed if you didn't have such a large variety of items. We'll have more chances to work together in the future. Wang Teng smiled. They signed the contract and the middle-aged man transferred the virtual coins to Wang Teng's account. As an unregistered resident, he didn't have an account, but he had inherited Nangong Yu's inheritance. As a baron of the empire, Nangong Yu had an unnamed bank card in the Universe Bank. He might be dead, but he wrote his will before he died and left the bank card to his successor. Hence, the account didn't get deleted. The bank card was kept by Round Ball. Wang Teng could use it now. The middle-aged man treated Wang Ting with even more passion when he noticed that he possessed an unnamed bank card while they were doing the transaction. He even looked at him with some respect. The Universe Bank was a gigantic presence in the universe. Its background was mysterious and powerful, and it had been around in the universe for a long time. It was the biggest bank in countless galaxies and planets. Their branches were scattered over many different civilizations. They were a trusted entity. Hence, it wasn't easy to get an unnamed bank card from this bank. You needed to have a certain position and status. Wang Ting enjoyed such convenience with Nangong Yu's help. This was why the Baron position was so popular in the Great Qian Empire. You can send the real items to the nearest 1,000 treasure chamber branch. The middle-aged sent Wang Ting to the door after completing the transaction. Manager Bok, you can stop here. Wang Ting stopped the middle-aged man helplessly. During their conversation, Wang Ting learned that this man was called Bok and was a goblin. There were goblins in the universe too. They were good merchants and outstanding inventors and engineers. You could see signs of them in many big corporations or construction sites. The middle-aged man wasn't that enthusiastic at the start, but now, he was sucking up to him. Wang Ting couldn't accept the sudden change. Hope to see you soon. Bok smiled and waved his hand at Wang Ting as he sent him off. Chapter 916, Bear, Dog, and Wolf Combo, Stupid, Naive, Cold Combo. When they left the 1,000 treasure chamber, Wang Ting was still pondering over Manager Bok's change. Round Ball chuckled. In the universe, bank cards are linked to one spirit. However, unnamed cards don't need to. They can be transferred to another person as long as the holder gives their consent. Thus, an unnamed card is an extremely high-class bank card. Normal people can't possess it. This is why Manager Bok treated you differently. He probably thought that you're a noble. Celestial stage martial warriors are powerful and can take on the position of a manager in big corporations, but they're nothing when compared to a noble like you who has an unnamed bank card from the Universe Bank. It laughed uncontrollably. Now, do you understand how important Master Nangong's legacy is? Everywhere is realistic. Wang Ting shook his head and said firmly, you're right. Nangong Yu's legacy is useful. I'll get the Baron's status. I'm glad you know. Where do we go now? Buy some battle uniforms and weapons. There are battle uniforms and weapons in the 1,000 treasure chamber. Why do we have to go somewhere else? Wang Ting asked curiously. Please keep reading on MYB0X novel. Are you stupid? The items in the 1,000 treasure chamber are expensive. We should buy them from specialty stalls. Are specialty stalls cheaper? Wang Ting didn't know anything. Fortunately, he had round ball or he would have spent unnecessary money. Earning money wasn't easy. Despite collecting many good things on Earth, he only managed to sell them for 8,500 GQC. He felt a little sad about his poverty. He should spend less when he could. He could start spending lavishly again once he earned more money. Many things in specialty stores are mass-produced, so they're less expensive. Of course, if you want better things, you need to spend more coins. After some time, the two of them went to a battle uniform shop and a weapons shop to get a battle uniform and a sword each. They spent 5,500 GQC. It might only be a few thousand GQC, but GQC had a high value. Thus, the items they bought were of good quality. The battle uniforms were both 3rd planetary level and the battle sword was at the 5th planetary level. They were all items used by planetary stage martial warriors. In the universe, battle uniforms, weapons, and many other items were classified based on the martial warrior stage to make it easier to remember. The tailor makes the man. After changing into a black battle uniform with a sword on his back, he changed into a new man. He was no longer a newbie. The passers-by looked at him with a different gaze too. He seemed to have the words "rich" pasted on his head. This was the difference between a handsome young man walking on the street wearing a normal shirt and one wearing an Armani shirt with a Vacheron Constantin watch. Other people would definitely look at them differently. After getting the items, Wang Teng came to the teleportation point of this city. Why did he come here? Because he wanted to teleport to the wilderness and experienced the joy of virtual hunting. The wilderness and the residential area were two entirely different areas. The wild zone wasn't on the Great Qian mainland. One needed to teleport there. Teleportation required some money. Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com. This was why Roundball asked him to find some money first. Getting the battle uniform and the sword wasn't important. Wang Teng could still kill star beasts in the wild zone. But without money, he wouldn't be able to teleport there. That would be frustrating. The teleportation point was a huge plaza. There were many teleportation arrays here to transport martial warriors to various places. There were many people in the plaza. Martial warriors walked back and forth carrying all kinds of ingredients. It was a lively place. Forming a team to hunt an Emperor-level fire element wolf. The 3rd to the 5th level planetary stage. Forming a team to hunt an Emperor-level metal-armored rhinoceros. 6th level to the 8th level planetary stage. Wang Teng noticed an interesting scene when he walked over. There were many temporary shelters built around the plaza. Groups of martial warriors gathered below them and shouted their team requests. They're inviting people to form hunting teams. Roundball noticed Wang Teng's gaze and explained, star beasts normally roam in groups in the wild. Some are extremely hard to deal with, so many people opt to form teams to hunt them together. Aren't they afraid of the competition? Wang Teng asked. This is the virtual universe. Even if you die, your true form won't be killed. Besides, this is a kind of experience too. Getting tricked in the virtual universe is better than getting tricked in real life. You make sense. Wang Ting touched his chin and looked in a direction. Forming a team to hunt Emperor-level black-winged vultures. Earth element martial warriors will have a priority. The 6th level to the 7th level planetary stage will have a priority. The shouts became clearer as Wang Teng got nearer. There was a martial warriors team inviting people to hunt an Emperor-level star beast called the black-winged vulture. They were Wang Teng's target. Hi, do you want to join us to hunt for the black-winged vultures? A humble-looking bear-race martial warrior was elated when he saw Wang Teng walking over. He welcomed him with open arms. Is the black-winged vulture a wind element star beast? Wang Teng asked. This was his real aim. He had collected many wind force attributes from Yin Hai, but there was still a gap if he wanted to reach the planetary realm. Wang Teng wanted to collect more constellation wind force by killing wind element star beasts to accelerate its growth. Also, he didn't know where the wind element star beasts were, so he decided to find a team to get familiar with the area first. Yes, yes. The bear race martial warrior nodded fervently. I'm an earth element martial warrior, and I'm at the 7th level of the planetary stage. Wang Teng released his constellation Earth Force as he spoke. Good, you meet our criteria perfectly. The bear race martial warrior was overjoyed. Come, let's sign the contract, and I'll introduce you to the other 2 companions. Wang Teng walked over and sized up the other members. There were 3 martial warriors in the team, including the bear race martial warrior. One was from the wolf race while the other was from the dog race. All 3 of them were tall and muscular. They gave off a powerful aura just standing there. This group was not bad. Suddenly, Wang Ting's expression turned strange. Honestly, the dog race and the wolf race looked alike. Both had furry ears, but they mostly looked like a human. If no one told him, he wouldn't be able to differentiate between them. My name is Xiong Dali. The bear race martial warrior introduced himself before moving on to the other 2. But before he could continue, the wolf martial warrior said coldly, Embark, an earth element wolf race martial warrior. Hasten, a water element martial warrior. Please take care of me. The dog race martial warrior gave an innocent smile and raised his hand. Oh, hello. Wang Teng was stunned. He shook hands with him. For some reason, he had a strange feeling. These 2 martial warriors were handsome. Brake had a cold charm, and Hasten was naive. He had a feeling that this bear, dog, and wolf combo, or rather, stupid, naive, and cold combo, would give him an interesting experience. My name is Wang Ting. I'm a human martial warrior. Wang Ting introduced himself too. They exchanged greetings. Wang Teng, sign the agreement and we can leave. Xiong Dali was impatient. Wang Teng walked over and took a look at the contract Xiong Dali had prepared. He didn't notice any loopholes. It was a simple contract. They would kill star beasts together and split the gains based on the number of star beasts they killed. This was a binding contract. After signing it, it would be recognized by the virtual universe. He didn't need to worry about his teammates tricking him. Looks like I found a reliable team, Wang Teng muttered. After signing the contract, his team members quickly kept the temporary shelter. They carried their luggage and called Wang Teng over to the teleportation point. Chapter 917. Don't worry, I'll protect you, Black Wind Plains. It was a vast and boundless piece of grassland. Its name came from the strong winds sweeping down from the Black Wind Mountains. There were countless kinds of star beasts living on the plains, and black wind vultures were one of them. Wang Teng and his 3 temporary teammates arrived at a gathering point via the teleportation array. The teleportation cost them 10 GQC. Splitting the bill, each of them only had to pay 2.5 GQC. Wang Teng felt that the teleportation array was cheap. It was a convenient service. The 4 of them left the gathering point in a heavy vehicle, which they rented from a local business, and headed toward a certain point in the plains. After all, not everyone could carry a vehicle like this around with them. Vehicles were expensive, and to bring them along with you would mean that you needed to have extremely large space in your space equipment. Both would cost a lot of money. Xiong Dali and the others didn't look like they were rich. Wang Teng didn't have any spare money for now and couldn't afford these things. He could only go with the flow. Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com. It was important to note that the currency used in the virtual universe was the same as in the real world. Virtual GQC and the real GQC were interchangeable and could be traded for each other. The vehicle sped in the boundless plains. The surrounding grass was almost the height of an adult. It would be difficult for ordinary vehicles to move quickly in such an environment. Only heavy vehicles had the capability. The wheels were half the height of a human, and the vehicle was much taller than an average human. The tall grass could not stop the large wheels of the vehicle from crushing them. Wang Teng and the others sat in the vehicle to rest. Hasten was holding a map in his hand and trying to navigate while Brake was driving. Wang Teng looked at Hasten's dazed look and raised his eyebrows. He was doubting whether he would be able to lead them to their destination. He then glanced at Xiong Dali and saw that he was already sound asleep and snoring like thunder. Brake seemed to have noticed Wang Ting's gaze and looked at him through the rearview mirror. He has always been like that. We take turns to be alert. Wang Ting nodded and asked, how strong are the black-winged vultures? In the group of black-winged vultures that we found, the king is at the 7th emperor level, while the rest are the 1st emperor level to the 5th emperor level. There are around 27 of them, Brake said with a grim expression. Wang Ting, is this your first time hunting star beasts in the wild? Hasten suddenly raised his head and asked with a mocking face. He wasn't really mocking him. He was born that way. He had a handsome face, but the slightly raised arc of his mouth and eyes formed a despicable expression. It seemed as though he was ridiculing others all the time. Wang Ting had seen through him. He was from the dog race and very possibly from the Husky clan. He nodded with a little surprise. This silly guy could actually tell that this was his first time in the wild. First-timers would usually find someone to form teams. And they would talk less and observe more while going with the flow. Hasten seemed to know that he was surprised and smiled proudly. I see. Wang Ting was stunned. It will definitely be unfamiliar for the first time. Don't worry, I'll protect you. Hasten patted his chest and assured him. Just take care of yourself. You are always the one dragging us down, Brake said coldly. Since when? My contribution to this team is not less than yours. Hasten glared at him with disapproval. Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com. If you were more reliable, our loot would have at least doubled, Brake said. Hasten's mouth twitched and was speechless. Wang Ting glanced at him strangely. Sure enough, he knew that this fellow was a silly one. Cough, don't worry. I'm definitely able to protect you. Hasten cleared his throat and declared. Wang Ting gave him an indescribable look. They finally reached the place where Xiong Dali and the others had found the black-winged vultures after traveling for more than an hour. It was at the outskirts of the Black-Wind Mountains, where several bear mountains stood. As they approached, they saw a few black-winged vultures far away in the sky. After spotting them, they stopped the vehicle and looked for cover to hide the vehicle. Wang Ting and the others then prepared and were ready to act. They crouched in the tall grass and concealed their bodies. They then each used concealment and controlled their breaths. Black-winged vultures were not ordinary star beasts. They were all-powerful beasts who had reached the emperor level. Ordinary martial warriors who approached their territory would be captured by them and torn into pieces. Star beasts always had a strong sense of territory. Be careful. When we get close to the black-winged vulture's nest, we'll deal with the king first. Xiong Dali whispered, Wang Ting, you are an earth elemental martial warrior. Cover us when the time comes. Earth counters wind. Stabilize our bodies and don't let us be blown away by the strong winds. Xiong Dali and the others cooperated very well. At this moment, the three of them were leading the way while Wang Ting was lagging behind. Xiong Dali looked back at him as he spoke, only to find that Wang Ting had disappeared. They were startled. Okay. Wang Ting's voice came faintly from the grass on their left as he responded to Xiong Dali's instructions. The three turned their heads in astonishment, but they still couldn't find Wang Ting. They exchanged glances with each other and all saw a trace of amazement in their eyes. This guy. They acknowledged Wang Ting's strength. This temporary teammate seemed extraordinary. Maybe it's just an advanced rank concealment technique, Xiong Dali said with uncertainty. Probably. Brake and Hasten hesitated, but they found it hard to believe that Wang Ting would be a master. After all, he had only displayed a strength of a 7th-level planetary stage martial warrior, which was a little worse than theirs. They were at the 8th level and were experienced, while he looked like a rookie. However, after learning that Wang Ting was skilled in concealment, they were relieved. At least this temporary teammate of theirs wouldn't be dragging them behind. Soon, the party reached the foot of the mountain and looked up. They saw a huge nest built on top of a bare mountain. Chapter 9:18, Headshot. Xiong Dali and the others concealed themselves within the bushes below the mountain. They observed the black-winged vulture's nest on the cliff through the gaps between the bushes. They were counting the number of black-winged vultures. There are 28 of them, all in the nest. Looks like we'll need to wait, Xiongdali said helplessly after counting them. There were only 4 of them. It was unrealistic for them to deal with 28 Emperor-level star beasts. They might die together if they rushed forward recklessly. Let's wait and observe. The black-winged vultures will need to find food. Only the black-winged vulture king will guard the nest, Brake said. Hence, they waited patiently. In the afternoon, cries of the black-winged vultures sounded in the sky. The wind swirled in the air and large shadows flew out of the nest, spreading their wings and soaring into the horizon. Thief left. The team was invigorated. Xiongdali sniggered. Damn it, they finally left. We'll start moving after 10 minutes. Brake and Hasten were excited, staring at the giant next in anticipation. They could see a huge black shadow lying in the nest. It seemed to be resting. Wang Ting's gaze landed on the black shadow. He activated his spiritual sight, and a glaring ball of green light appeared in his vision. Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com f***k. This is a first-level Imperial stage black-winged vulture. Why did they say that it was at the 7th-level Emperor stage? Wang Ting almost cursed, but he controlled himself. He was confused. Hiding in the dark, he observed the other martial warriors' expressions. The Imperial stage was equivalent to the Celestial stage of martial warriors. He had no chance of facing an Imperial level as a first-level planetary stage martial warrior. Were these 3 fellows trying to trick him? Did they have evil intentions? But looking at their expressions, they honestly didn't seem to know the black-winged vulture king's actual strength. Are these 3 fellows even reliable? Wang Ting was speechless. Fortunately, he could deal with Imperial-level star beasts. If not, his first hunting mission in the virtual universe would be a failure. Attack! Xiongdali bellowed in a low tone. Swoosh! 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 The 3 martial warriors dashed out at once, turning into beams of light as they rushed into the sky and charged toward the black-winged vulture king. Wang Ting wanted to remind them, but they couldn't wait to welcome their death, couldn't wait to act. Hence, he decided to shut up and follow behind them. He still remembered his mission. He used his earth force to stabilize their figures. Kill! Xiongdali shouted. A huge hammer appeared in his hand. Fire force congregated on it, forming roaring flames. They turned into the shape of a giant fire hammer as it hurled toward the black-winged vulture king. Hasten and Brake acted simultaneously. Brake was holding a blade with a golden glow shimmering around it. He slashed out a 100-meter-long blade glow. Wang Ting was surprised by Hasten's attacks, who carried a long bow. Water force gathered on the bow and formed a sharp arrow. Within the span of a few breaths, he fired 7 arrows at the black-winged vulture king. Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com. The black-winged vulture king spread out its wings as the attacks rained down on it, screeching in anger. Its voice pierced into everyone's ears like a needle. Boom, boom, boom. The martial warriors' attacks landed on the black-winged vulture king. Loud explosions occurred. The black-winged vulture king's nest was set aflame. We hit it. The 3 martial warriors didn't expect things to go so smoothly. They were elated. Screech! Suddenly, an anguished cry burst from within the flames. Boom! A gale appeared out of nowhere. The flames turned into a tornado, surging right into the sky. The black-winged vulture king's shadow could be seen amid the flames. Damn it, run! The 3 martial warriors immediately detected something amiss. Their expressions changed, and they shouted as they retreated quickly. With each flap of the vulture king, the gale grew stronger. The flames shot towards the martial warriors along with the wind. F***k, when did this black-winged vulture king become so strong? Xiongdali found it unbelievable. But they didn't panic. Hasten pulled his bow as they retreated, throwing powerful water force arrows at the flame. Boom! The 2 forces collided in the air. The flames were the residual energy of Xiongdali's attack, so they got doused by Hasten's water element attack. Screech! However, the black-winged vulture king had already charged out of its nest. Its black feathers seemed to be made of steel, giving off a sharp glint. It glared at the martial warriors with hatred in its gaze. It wanted to tear them into pieces. A green glow twirled around the black-winged vulture king, creating sharp winged blades. They cut through the air while flying toward the martial warriors. In an instant, the sky was densely populated with winged blades. There was no room to retreat. The three martial warriors were appalled. They executed their skills to defend against the wind blade attack. Boom, boom, boom. Force collided and explosions resounded. Energy waves spread out in the air. The sky was the black-winged vulture king's territory. The three of them were like target boards and struggled to cope. This black-winged vulture king is at the imperial stage. Xiong Dali yelled in disbelief. He finally noticed what was wrong. He didn't think that this black-winged vulture king was able to advance to the imperial stage in such a short time. This didn't make sense. The virtual universe was indeed a reflection of the real universe. The star beasts here wouldn't appear for no reason. They could multiply, grow, and become stronger. What should we do? We can't beat it, Brake asked sternly. Retreat. Xiong Dali was decisive, giving up on the hunt without any hesitation. They couldn't deal with an imperial stage black-winged vulture king. They had no choice but to retreat. Staying alive was more important. Although they wouldn't die for real if they got killed in the virtual universe, their spirits would still be injured. They could only re-enter the virtual universe after spending some time in recovery. This was an unbearable loss. The three of them wanted to escape, but the black-winged vulture king's aggro was locked on them. It wouldn't let them leave. It opened its beak, and a ball of green light gathered in it. The three martial warriors felt the frightening force fluctuation. They were flabbergasted. Split up and run. Escape if you can, Xiong Dali shouted. They dashed off without any hesitation. Swoosh. At this moment, a terrifying fist aura came from beside them and landed on the black-winged vulture king's head. The vulture was caught off guard. The black-winged vulture king, who was preparing its attack, received a headshot. The three martial warriors. Chapter 919. What kind of monster is he? 1. What just happened? Xiong Dali, Brake, and Hasten were in a daze. They stared at Wang Ting absent-mindedly as he appeared on the scene. He was still in his attacking posture. He retracted his hand amid the astounded gazes of his teammates. I'm sorry. My plan was to injure it and let you guys end its life, but this black-winged vulture king's head is surprisingly soft. It died in one hit, Wang Ting said guiltily as he looked at them. The three martial warriors. Was there a problem with their understanding? They understood every word Wang Ting said, but when pieced together, they couldn't get its meaning. Was he saying that the black-winged vulture king was too weak? Or was he saying they were too weak? Or both? Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com. The other three martial warriors received a huge blow to their confidence. Their weak little hearts seemed to be hit by an arrow. What's wrong with you? Wang Ting sensed the silent atmosphere and asked in surprise. I'm fine. The wind is really noisy today. Xiong Dali scratched his head and lamented as he looked at the sky. You're right. Brake and Hasten nodded in agreement. Wang Ting suspected that got frightened by the black-winged vulture king and their minds had gone blank. Ignoring the trio, he turned to look at the attribute bubbles the black-winged vulture king had dropped. Constellation Force, Wind, * 5600 Emperor Level Wind Talent * 800 Raging Gale Ultima * 120 Blank Attribute * 13,000 Wang Ting's eyes lit up as the attribute bubbles merged into his body. Comfortable tilde indeed, you could pick up attribute bubbles in the virtual universe. The star beasts in the virtual universe were huge and fat sheep. He had a fun time getting their wool. 5,600 points of Constellation Wind Force entered Wang Teng's body. He activated the Raging Gale scripture to increase the conversion of normal wind force into Constellation Force. This was the good part about picking up attributes. Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com. The force he picked up was all extremely pure. Thus, the ordinary wind force was diluted, and the conversion could happen faster. Then, there were 800 points of Emperor-level wind talent. Wang Teng's wind talent had already reached the Emperor level, but he didn't mind it climbing higher. 800 points of Emperor-level wind talent allowed his talent to rise again. He also received 120 points of Raging Gale Ultima. Raging Gale Ultima. This was the same Ultima as the one he got from Yin Hai. Although he used it on his sword skill, they were the same. In an instant, Wang Ting's understanding of the Raging Gale Ultima rose to another level. After digesting his gains, he realized that his Raging Gale Ultima had taken a noticeable leap. Ultima was an important attribute for Wang Ting. At his level, he needed to use Ultima during any battle. The stronger it was, the higher his combat prowess. Finally, there were 13,000 points of blank attributes. Wang Teng was satisfied with his loot. One Black Wind Vulture King had dropped so many attribute bubbles. There were 27 more Black Wind Vultures waiting for him. They might not be as strong as the king, but they were all at the Emperor level. The attribute bubbles they dropped wouldn't be small. However, he realized a problem. The star beasts in the virtual universe dropped lesser attribute bubbles compared to the ones in the real world. Wang Teng didn't think too much. Having attribute bubbles to collect was good enough. He couldn't control how much they dropped. The other Black Wind Vultures are coming back soon. Shall we hide? Wang Ting turned and asked the three martial warriors. They finally regained their senses and nodded. Oh, right. Let's hide quickly. They dragged the body of the Black Wind Vulture King to the bushes below and dispersed the stench of blood. The virtual universe was highly realistic. Thus, they had to hide the body cautiously like how they would do it in real life. The three martial warriors were all experienced. They quickly dealt with the corpse and went to hide. But then, they thought of something. Wait, with your ability, you can kill the other Black Wind Vultures easily. Why should we hide? Xiong Dali asked Wang Teng. He was puzzled. Don't you find this way easier? Look, when the Black Wind Vulture King was infuriated, I killed it by giving it a sudden punch. If I had fought it head-on, I'd need to use more effort. It's troublesome. You make sense. Xiong Dali was stunned. Of course. I always make sense in whatever I do. I think I learned something today. Hason's eyes were shimmering. He seemed excited. Anyway, that Black Wind Vulture King must have reached the first level of the Imperial stage. You must be at a level higher than the 7th level of the planetary stage, right? After all, you managed to kill it with one punch. Brake gave Wang Ting a meaningful look. Xiong Dali and Hason immediately understood. They turned vigilant. Why did Wang Ting hide his ability and join their team? What was his motive? But wait, he was stronger than them. They were the ones pulling him back. What was the point of joining them? Guess. Wang Ting smiled as he looked at them. Chapter 920. What kind of monster is he? 2. The three martial warriors realized Wang Ting's bad sense of humor. Guess what? Can you treat this serious question with more respect? Although they were speechless, the worry in their hearts had disappeared. Screech, screech, screech. At this moment, shrill screeches came from afar. More than 20 shadows were closing in on them at an amazing speed. A huge storm could already be felt from here. They are back. Please keep reading on myb0xnovel.com. The three martial warriors turned serious, clutching their weapons tightly. They didn't seem affected after getting defeated badly by the Black Wind Vulture King, but deep inside, they were exasperated. They wanted to regain some respect. Wang Ting squinted at the sky. The Black Wind Vultures returned to their nest with the game they had hunted. Some of them were injured though. It looked like their hunt wasn't smooth either. Great. Around 7 Black Wind Vultures are injured. Hason exclaimed softly. Xiong Dali looked at Wang Ting involuntarily. With his nod, he yelled, "Attack!" They dashed out and pounced on the Black Wind Vultures with powerful force attacks. The three martial warriors were exceptionally ruthless. They started fighting with the black-winged vultures as if they had taken a shot in the arm. In the past, they wouldn't dare to charge at these many black-winged vultures. But with Wang Teng as backup, their confidence surged to new heights. Wang Teng didn't do much. He just stood at the side, but his teammates felt more relaxed. After 10 minutes, all 27 black-winged vultures were killed. Their corpses slammed onto the ground one by one. His teammates were amazing tools. Wang Teng was satisfied with their performance. He started picking attribute bubbles casually at the side. There were 27 Emperor-level black-winged vultures, so the attribute bubbles they dropped filled up the entire area around him. It was an impactful sight as they floated in the air. Constellation Force, Wind, * 2500 Emperor-level Wind Talent * 200 Raging Gale Ultima * 100. Please keep reading on myb0x novel. Com blank attribute * 7000 Constellation Force, Wind, * 2200 Emperor-level Wind Talent * 180 blank attribute * 6000 Constellation Force, Wind, * 2800. The corner of Wang Teng's lips rose uncontrollably after he picked up all the attribute bubbles. Amazing. What a huge harvest. He collected some amazing wealth. Wang Teng counted his spoils of war. There were 54,000 points of Constellation Wind Force, 4,800 points of Emperor-level Wind Talent, 1,800 points of Raging Gale Ultima, and 125,000 points of blank attributes. At this moment, Wang Teng shuddered. 54,000 points of Constellation Wind Force was a frightening amount. It had exceeded the requirements for advancing to the planetary stage. Boom! A large amount of Constellation Wind Force surged into his body and started gushing around like an endless, roaring torrent. Wang Teng's expression changed. He hurriedly executed the Raging Gale scripture. He soon realized that the level of his Raging Gale scripture wasn't enough to satisfy the conversion speed of the Constellation Wind Force he currently possessed. Wang Teng knew that this was because there was too much Constellation Wind Force. He immediately added blank attributes to the Raging Gale scripture. Raging Gale scripture, 10,000, perfected. He used close to 30,000 blank attributes to raise the Raging Gale scripture to the perfected stage. The Raging Gale scripture started working its charm. The Constellation Wind Force streamed through his body. Swoosh! A green ball of light started gathering above the pitch-black sea of nihility, forming a glowing bridge that was linked to the sea of nihility. The breakthrough was happening. This was a leap in quality. Boom, boom, boom. The sea of nihility started trembling. The surface started tossing, and giant waves crashed into the bridge, preventing the wind force from accessing it. This was a necessary process. It was a tough journey for the forces to reach the sea of nihility. However, Wang Teng was an anomaly. He had received 54,000 points of Constellation Wind Force earlier. Adding the force he had accumulated in the past, he had more than 60,000 points, exceeding the requirements to hit the breakthrough. This was a frightening amount. The waves formed by the sea of nihility couldn't prevent the dawn of the Constellation Wind Force at all. Boom! Boundless Constellation Wind Force swarmed into his sea of nihility, setting off torrential waves. The commotion was astonishing. Finally, the Constellation Wind Force sunk into the bottom of the sea and started to change. It completed its transformation. Wang Teng was extremely calm as he was used to this situation. He had done everything he could. He just needed to wait quietly for the force to transform into a constellation so that he could advance to the planetary stage. After some time, a powerful force fluctuation floated out from the bottom of the sea of nihility. A green ball of light rose. 3 green lotuses blossomed on the surface of the sea as 3 constellations rose from the lotuses. 3 green constellations. Wang Teng had just achieved his breakthrough, yet he already had 3 wind element constellations. This was unbelievable. The 3 green constellations seemed to be made of emeralds. They were mesmerizing. There were tiny whirlpools spinning on their surfaces, presenting a magical sight to the only spectator. Suddenly, the core of the green constellation started spinning. It turned into a black hole and released a powerful suction force. Boom! Wang Teng's spirit started trembling. The suction force wanted to suck a tinge of spiritual power from the spirit constellation that had already reached the celestial stage. But Wang Ting's spirit was too powerful. Its realm was higher than his force cultivation, so this rising wind force constellation wasn't able to affect the celestial realm spirit constellation. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.